Zero Murder Week, dated August 25th, 2025. And I'd also like to submit for the record an article from the New York Times, dated April 18th, 2025. Man who set fire on Shapiro's mansion cited treatment of Palestinians, police say.
Yeah, thank you. Without objection.
I have
Gentlelady from
UC.
Texas and then Pennsylvania.
Thank you so much. My first UC is the FBIAA letter to Congress on summary terminations, where it states denying fundamental due process and summarily dismissing special agents will only make it harder to protect our nation. These actions distract agents from their work, foster fear that their assignments could cost them their careers either now or under the next administration, and increase the risk of criminal and national security threats by undermining unity and morale within the Bureau.
Without objection.
The next one is a CNN article. FBI agents are again pulled from their day jobs to address a Trump priority. It states, morale is the worst I've seen, said one law enforcement source. The Bureau is becoming unrecognizable. Lots of people are weighing really difficult decisions right now.
Without objection. Gentlelady from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd request unanimous consent to introduce into the record a September 16th, 2025 article in the New Republic entitled DOJ Quietly Deletes Study on Politics of Domestic Terrorists. The Justice Department has taken down a study that proves Republicans' entire narrative wrong about left-wing violence.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Gentleman from
How big of a
Washington.
shit show? So I started streaming this because I've been listening for a little bit in the background. I was working on my video on Jesse Waters,
Donald
coming along
Trump
great,
has been
gonna be a
tougher on
banger.
crime and
Writing
tougher on
2 more
international
scripts today.
terrorism than any president in American history.
I'm so excited to show everybody the videos I have.
Brings you a lot of satisfaction.
And I had this on in the background as I was browsing YouTube for some footage. It popped up, and I was like, oh, I want to see this embarrassing spectacle.
Recently,
it is
President
thus far
Trump
one of the most
conducted very strategic and important strikes on
partisan
Iran's nuclear apparatus.
Like it's barely can be called an oversight committee because one side is actually attempting to give oversight to Kash Patel, who is absurdly inexperienced, absurdly unfamiliar with his job, absolutely unqualified in every way, and continues to show it.
What can you tell Congress and the American people about what the FBI is doing
delivering the most softball questions? It's such a bizarre spectacle. I needed to share it with everybody. I needed to increase some awareness because these Senate hearings, they go so untalked about.
Sure that any
like they go so unexamined.
Hearsay, double hearsay, triple hearsay, or totally incredible is not only fully run down, but we also take our duties to notify and give defensive briefings to those who are mentioned in those intelligence reports to make sure that we do both our notification obligation and our investigatory obligation.
Thank you. The FBI is also the foremost counterintelligence apparatus here in the U.S. We know the U.S. faces a more complex threat of global, more complex array of global threats than any time perhaps World War II or even superseding that time. As America continues to be under attack from various intelligence agencies globally, what can you tell us about the counterintelligence operations of the FBI as a core function?
This is why the CIA mission is so important to the FBI, because as you said, no one else can do it. No one else has the authorities to do it. And even if they did, they don't have the capabilities to do it. And the CIA mission has to be headquartered in Washington, but have far-reaching capabilities because we have to face against our adversaries in the DPRK, in Russia, China, Iran, and elsewhere. And in order to do that, we have to have dedicated intelligence professionals on those target sets. And since I become director, I've demanded not only a dismantling and disruption of networks, but a public display of how we're doing it so the world knows that our adversary is A, attacking us, and B, we're stopping them. And that's why you've seen these dramatic increases in counterintelligence arrest in the PRC by 33%, in Russia 83%, in Iran 60%. We are showing the world that they are trying to engage in espionage activities against us, and we are holding them accountable publicly.
And there's been increasing concern about the Maduro regime of Venezuela, both their potential support of terrorist activity, criminal drug networks, and potential espionage entities here within the U.S. What can you tell us about your activities regarding the Maduro regime of Venezuela?
Generally speaking, one of the largest transshipment points and shipment points for narcotics out of South America, Colombia, obviously, and also Venezuela, is being utilized heavily by the narco-traffickers to send up cocaine, meth, and fentanyl, and excuse me, all the other illegal narcotics through the island chains in the Caribbean Ocean and ultimately for America. So there has to be more work
that's
done
just what
in
came
the
up on my
region
feed.
to stop those navigable waterways from being traversed with drugs bound for America.
Is this worse than the Kavanaugh hearing?
What is the one thing that Congress could most do in terms of passing a law to best
It's kind of
support
pancakes
the
and
FBI
waffles
in
because,
making America,
like,
safer and more secure?
Yeah, this dude is currently sitting.
Get us more authorities.
Like Kavanaugh that was a vetting process. This is the dude in charge of the FBI who
platforms have
has
legal access
no
and also
fucking
have
idea.
private
Like
partnerships with the FBI.
watching this has made it so clear how much he is aided and abetted by Republican representatives right now, because they are literally just there was one representative, I don't remember who it was, who was just asking questions about like what do we think about this, the violence against Catholics and the Antifa terror networks
of the FBI are doing to keep us safe. And I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Got a UC request from the gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an article titled, FBI Flooded with Record Number of New Agent Applications, Kash Patel's First Month. The FBI saw 5,577 new agent applications in March and more than 10,000 since January.
Without objection. The gentleman from Kansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Director, thank you for being here. I have listened carefully to all the discussion in this hearing. I've reached two top-line conclusions. First, I am glad I don't have your job. And second, I am glad you do. Thank you for being willing to step up and serve in this role. I'd like to plow a little bit of ground that we've not spent a lot of time on so far and explore. You mentioned, and I'm well aware of your strong commitment to partnering with state and local law enforcement authorities. Obviously, one of the missions is in the counter-drug space. Another is in the forensic laboratory space. How long do I think it'll take until mandatory conscription? Both you and a lot of local and state agencies
I don't see that
cooperate
really happening.
in terms of evidence analysis. From the state side, programs such as the HIDA programs, very, very important
in his defense, he's a wizard.
Coverdell grants, very important in maintaining
For those who don't know, yeah, Kash Patel wrote a children's book that depicted him, who, by the way, was always a literally who in the Trump movement, but depicting him as a wizard helping King Trump.
Contribute to the safety of the United States.
That's a real thing.
Absolutely.
You can go look up the Kash Patel children's book.
I've talked a little bit about some of the counter-drug work that you've been doing. One thing we haven't talked about yet,
$50. Thank you for head press. Of course, people are applying is going to leave them about how like who wouldn't?
Designated a number of the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
Kash Patel.
That's not just a paper transaction. I believe the list has been expanded since those first actions. In terms of America's military engagement,
this sounds like one of my dipshit congressmen.
Cartels abroad,
yeah, you can kind of tell just based on the voice where somebody is going to lie ideologically.
Of our military and our
I feel community. Just based on how much of a good old boy inflection they try and put on.
Might be affecting or should be affecting the FBI's approach to dealing with the domestic activities of the cartels.
The simple way
we're Comrade Girl. We're just getting started here.
And the manhunt for the foreign terrorist organizations overseas in places like Afghanistan and Iraq, the FBI received certain authorities to go out there and dedicate a mission to go after them both lawfully and investigatorially and collect evidence.
Why does he always look like he's on stimulants? I mean, that's just fear.
Once the foreign terrorist organization was labeled over
that's what happens when you're the most unqualified person for a job and you become the important person at work.
Anywhere else they are. And so that's the best analogy I have. What we're able to do is take our counterterrorism platform, traditionally
the videos chat is also pretty funny.
And bring it into this hemisphere against a very real threat, which is the drug traffickers, and they are foreign terrorist organizations. So we just have so many more resources and authorities now directed at them.
So, for example, Director, in the regions, from the vantage point of local law enforcement, there are structures that have historically handled those partnerships separately. HIDA, for example, is an example on the drug trafficking side. The JTTFs are an example on the terrorism side. How is the thinking evolving in terms of on a regional basis?
He always looks like a ghost is haunting him. Oh, that's a good one.
Targets in many ways emerged.
So the JTTFs are kind of our forward operating base across every single state in this country to take on that mission. And anytime you're labeled a foreign terrorist organization, you come right under the authorities of the JTTF, the task force officers, and the state and local level police work that gets done in those JTTFs.
Oh yeah. So the other part is that for those who don't know, he had no idea. There's clips going around now.
Specifically working with DHS and Secretary No to go after.
He had no idea who Dylan Roof was.
Terrorist organizations, because they have unique.
The perpetrator, the white supremacist perpetrator behind one of the most notorious modern hate crimes,
Director. I noticed in
who
your
murdered a bunch of black parishioners.
You
just a couple years ago,
expiring authority,
like
in 6 U.S.C. 124.
Not knowing who Dylan Roof is as the fucking head of the FBI
statute at the end of this month.
Is like I'm willing to bet he probably doesn't even know who like Anders Breivik is.
Can you talk a little bit about the FBI's role?
Yeah, wild antic. This is look. There's nothing usual here, and this will probably be a short stream because I don't have much else to cover outside of this
some
stuff.
of the FIFA World Cup activities coming up. We're
and I have to get back to
and there are limits on what
I've
our
been
state
kind of on a
local
roll with writing and
authorities
editing
have the
lately, and I
capacity
want to
to
keep
do,
that going.
or what our military has the capacity
How
to
does
do
he not know who
once
Dylan
threat
Roof is?
domestic.
Great fucking
it's
question.
Critically important.
Great fucking question.
Both the FBI and DHS have those capabilities. I'll speak to the FBI, of course, only. And you raised the World Cup, and that's exactly what we need it for. The Club World Cup, which just happened, was 32 games in at least a dozen different cities across the country, the largest sporting events consecutively in American history.
Bud.
And we used our counter-drone capabilities to not only inspect and secure stadium locations, but where fans were hovering at what we call base camps. And thankfully, because of the success of the FBI and DHS, we had no significant security incidences. And flipping to the World Cup, which is going to be 3 times as large, and obviously the largest we've ever had, and blending into the LA Olympics in 28, our counter-UAS capabilities are going to be the ones that are able us to have literal bird's eye view of the threat dynamic.
What are the premise of these hearings? It's Oversight Committee on how he's running shit,
and
especially in the wake of the Charlie Kirk shooting.
Very good. I yield back and thank you.
Gentleman yields back. Director, you've been amazing. You've been here 4 hours and 41 minutes without a break. We appreciate that. I think we have one more member, a few UC requests, and then you can we'll let you go. But we appreciate that. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you again for taking the time, Director Patel, and for Chairman Jordan for holding this hearing. Thank you for depoliticizing the FBI and getting it back to its original mission.
I don't think Kash knows who Timothy
Patel,
McVeigh
do you
is.
agree that we have a problem in the
I wouldn't be
United States
surprised if he doesn't know who Uncle Tim was.
Absolutely.
And I very much agree. I think we can all agree that political violence is wrong.
I wouldn't be surprised if he
regardless
doesn't
of
know
which
who
side it comes from,
Ted
and
Kaczynski
that
was.
We can all adamantly and vehemently reject it, or we certainly should. But one of the things that we've noticed recently is that affinity and tolerance for political violence is not equally distributed on both sides of the aisle. In fact, right now, social media is filled with leftists who are cheering on the murder of an iconic conservative political figure, Charlie Kirk. And it's not just random people on Twitter doing this now. There's a YouGov poll released just a few days ago, which stated that 25% of those who identify as very liberal believe that political violence can sometimes be justified. That's far too many, is it not? It is. That number
is far too
Irish DC, thank you for 19 months in a row.
Only
Take me to the Halloween city where the girls are goth.
Conservatives said the same thing. We can agree that 3% is far too many. But there's an astounding difference between 25% on the left accepting and tolerating political violence and 3% on the right. I would hope that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle would also recognize that there is a systemic problem on their side of the aisle with tolerance for violence against people with whom they politically disagree.
Oh, he does sound like Brian Griffin. Oh, Avocat, I'm never going to be able to unhear that. Holy shit.
Desperately. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
One of the more astounding aspects of this is that it's not just people. This comes from the very top, from their political
Thank you for
leaders.
sharing the Ko-Fi link.
Just a few days ago, a member of Congress of this body, Ilhan Omar, shared a video on her social media account about Charlie Kirk's murder, and I'll quote what it said. It said, "Charlie Kirk was Dr. Frankenstein, and his monster shot him through the neck." In other words, Charlie had it coming to him. The words that he said naturally led to his assassination. I mean, that is a reprehensible thing for a member of Congress to say, to suggest, to promote in any capacity. And there are people across this country
really
who are
gonna
losing
try
their jobs
and get
for far less
Ilhan
than
Omar
this.
deported. They really are.
And that, by the way, is a just response to acceptance and tolerance of political violence. It's amazing to me that the political left today, who were the originators and the cheerleaders of cancel culture, now have the backbone to attack conservatives for defending their assassinated friend. But there's a key difference here. Democrats want to silence conservatives for speaking obvious, self-evident, ontological truths like
here we go.
that men aren't women and men can't get pregnant.
When you hear Matt Walsh, this is like almost verbatim the shit Matt Walsh was disseminating. When you hear people like Matt Walsh, Chaya Raichik say this shit, the people in leadership whose constituencies overlap with those influencers are going to repeat it because that's how it becomes the line of the party. And this is a perfect example.
Seems pretty basic. That seems like a basic truth that we should all be able to agree on. Republicans, by contrast, are recognizing that a constitutional republic depends on the free and open exchange of ideas.
The amount of trans people that have been brought up in the Senate hearings,
and that assassinating a
we're gonna watch
rival
more of it after this,
is evil, it's wrong, and it should not be glorified or promoted or justified in any way, including in the way that Congresswoman Ilhan Omar did. So Mr. Patel, thank you again for being here. I'd like to, with the remainder of my time, just get your opinion. Does the FBI recognize the rising threat of political violence in America, and what can you guys do to address it?
Yes, we do, and what we can do to address it, Congressman, is we need to get online partnerships with these companies in the public space, on these gaming sites, and on these social media sites. As I was saying earlier, there is no way to triage the amount of information generated on these sites.
We need
by the
to
FBI alone. And we
control
need
the flow of information on social media. Crazy, dude.
Month, which I believe we need
the FBI needs to have Discord partnerships.
To the FBI without liability for criminal investigatory purposes, and that's the kind of stuff we need to keep going.
Okay.
Thank you, Director Patel. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Gentleman yields back.
Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from Arizona.
I have some UCs.
Gentleman to state his
finished gasoline. Thank you for following.
First one is a piece entitled "Review of Domestic Terrorism After Kirk's Murder Shows Biden Politicized Issue, the Intel, and Fudged the Data."
Without objection.
Thank you. Make a motion to table.
Oh no, we got to recognize the ranking member for his motion.
It's just a UC request.
The gentleman's recognized for a UC request.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the ADL report issued February 21, 2025, titled "Murder and Extremism in the United States in 2024, concluding that for the third year in a row, every single extremist-related murder in the United States in 2024 was committed by right-wing extremists, 8 of the 13 involving white supremacists and 5 having connections to far-right anti-government extremists."
Without objection.
Objection.
Gentlelady from Pennsylvania is recognized for unanimous consent.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple articles here. First is a New York Post article.
Let's go. Let's
July
go.
17th, 2025, Democratic Senator Ron Wyden claims big Epstein file full of actionable information locked in Treasury Department drawer.
Without objection.
This is The Guardian, May 18th, 2023. Deutsche Bank agrees to pay $75 million to settle Jeffrey Epstein lawsuit.
Without objection.
This is Fox Business, September 10th, 2025.
I guess I'm not understanding how Senate hearings register objections.
Concerns over sex offender status.
Without objection.
And New York Times
because
Bank of America flagged
usually
suspicious payments to
somebody
Epstein only after he died.
Says objection, it has to be like sustained or overruled, or like it has to be addressed in some way.
Recognized. We're going to come back to the motion. I thought it was made by Mr.
In fairness, I don't watch a lot of Senate hearings.
Could we do the motions before he goes? I just wanted to press the motion I originally had.
We're going to bring that up. Is that what this is?
Banks.
Are you doing that?
No, this is another motion.
Okay, well, I'm going to recognize first the gentleman because we held that motion in advance.
Okay, without objection, they're putting up articles to be submitted to the court record.
So look,
okay, gotcha.
There are 4 banks,
so that
JP Morgan,
in the
Bank
court
of New
transcripts,
York, Bank
these
of America, Deutsche Bank,
will be.
The gentleman can state his motion.
Yeah, the motion is to subpoena the CEOs of these 4 banks to bring in all records relating to their relationship.
Okay, so they're saying without objection. Okay, gotcha.
All records reflecting.
I'm not hearing the without part.
The government. $1.5 billion in suspicious transactions relating to the sex trafficking.
I move the table.
Mr. Diamond just released a statement saying he would be happy to comply.
Chairman, you don't need
the motion to table the motion offered by the gentleman from Maryland. The motion to table is not debatable. The question occurs on the motion to table. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion is tabled.
I'd like a recorded vote if we could, Mr.
Recorded vote being requested. The clerk will call. Well, we got to get the clerk here. The clerk's right here. Wonderful. Clerk will call the roll. Yes.
Mr. Jordan votes yes. Mr. Issa. Mr. Biggs. Mr. Biggs votes aye. Mr. McClintock. Mr. McClintock votes aye. Mr. Tiffany. Mr. Massey. Mr. Roy. Mr. Roy votes aye. Mr. Fitzgerald. Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein votes aye. Mr. Gooden.
They're voting on whether to
Mr. Nels votes
table
yes.
a discussion on.
Mr. Moore votes yes. Mr.
Kiley. Misappropriate sounded like billions of dollars in misappropriated funds was what.
Mr. Hunt.
I think I heard.
Mr. Fry. Mr. Grothman. Mr. Grothman votes aye. Mr. Knott. Mr. Knott votes aye. Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris votes aye. Mr. Onder. Mr. Onder votes aye. Mr. Schmidt. Mr. Schmidt votes aye. Mr. Gill. Mr. Gill votes aye. Mr. Baumgartner. Mr. Raskin.
No.
Mr. Raskin votes no. Mr. Nadler. No. Mr. Nadler votes no. Ms. Lofgren. No. Ms. Lofgren votes no. Mr. Cohen. Mr. Johnson. No. Mr. Johnson votes no. Mr. Swallow. No. Mr. Swallow votes no. Mr. Liu. Ms. Jayapal. Mr. Correa.
All right, I'll turn it up just a little bit.
Ms. Scanlon.
The hard part
Ms.
about
Scanlon
turning
votes
these
no.
up is that
Mr.
even in the video, their mics
Mr.
can be
Neguse
at different
votes no. Ms. McBath.
levels.
Ms. McBath votes no. Ms. Ross. No. Ms. Ross votes no. Ms. Ballant. No. Ms. Ballant votes no. Mr. Garcia. No. Mr. Garcia votes no. Ms. Kamlager-Dove. Mr. Moskowitz. No. Mr. Moskowitz votes no. Mr. Goldman. Mr. Goldman. Ms. Crockett.
No.
Ms. Crockett votes no.
Gentleman from Texas, Mr. Gooden.
Mr. Gooden.
You're a no. You're a no. Lance.
Mr. Gooden votes yes.
Mr. Chairman, how am I recorded?
Gentleman from New York.
Mr. Goldman, you're not recorded.
No.
Mr. Goldman votes no.
Gentlelady from Washington.
Ms. Jayapal votes no.
Gentleman from California. No. Gentlelady from California.
No.
Mr. Liu votes no. Ms. Kamlager-Dove votes no.
Gentleman from Kentucky.
No. Mr. Massey votes no.
Director, I want to thank you again for being here while we're waiting for
voting on tabling a discussion on misappropriated funds.
You don't need to stay around for these kind of motions. We appreciate the service you're providing the country, appreciate your testimony today, and appreciate the fact that you did it 5 hours straight. That's amazing. So God bless you. And
no, it's your job. Fuck off.
Witness is dismissed. I know, but I'm dismissing the witness. I don't think it, nothing involved.
I'll just put them in the record. Mr. Chairman,
we're still waiting for members to come back to record their vote on the motion offered by the gentleman from...
No, I just, as a point of order, I just wanted to establish that the dismissal of the witness doesn't affect the viability of any of the motions.
No, the committee's still going.
All right, let's go back a bit. I think around here is where we have some good... Oh, fucking Jim Jordan.
Search to make sure Donald Trump's name and image were flagged and redacted wherever they appeared, whether an email, a text, a letter, an interview, a photograph, or a video. In May, Attorney General Bondi reportedly told Trump that his name had indeed appeared multiple times throughout the Epstein files. And not long thereafter, in July, you and the Attorney General released a memo claiming that, quote, no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. In a few short months, how did you go from being a crusader for accountability and transparency for the Epstein files
this is the good shit.
to being a part of the conspiracy and cover-up? The answer is simple. You said it yourself.
This is tasty.
Because of who's on that list. Donald Trump's relationship with Epstein over the years is well documented. A week ago, the Oversight Committee released Trump's disturbing birthday book, Note to Epstein, written over a drawing of a woman's naked body, referring to a, quote, wonderful secret. The Oversight Committee obtained the note from the Epstein estate, not from the FBI, raising questions again of whether the FBI has been withholding documents. While you're unleashing the FBI to cater to Trump's desire to shut down
printing off that giant-ass note
9 months of the Trump presidency
with the signature,
a spate of political violence and domestic terror events.
All right, so we missed the fireworks early.
Political figures on both the left and the right. The brutal assassination of Minnesota Democratic House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the attempted murder of Democratic State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, who miraculously survived a combined 17 gunshots. We saw an arsonist set Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's residence on fire.
Why didn't any of this get released when Biden was president? I have two theories about that.
Of Charlie Kirk in Utah,
because so much of the Epstein shit implicates probably powerful people with ties to the Democrats.
A 16-year-old shooter in Evergreen, Colorado, radicalized by white supremacist
and they didn't want to open up that Pandora's box.
And critically wounded two other students
because Biden was steadfastly dedicated to this bullshit idea
violence,
that
including
just
the murder
being
of
nice
two
to the
young
right
Israeli embassy staffers, just blocks from the Capitol, and then the attack on a gathering of Jewish people in support of hostages held in Gaza.
I truly think he wanted to try and put it behind him.
We've seen continued mass shootings at schools, like the domestic terror incident at a Catholic school in Minneapolis last month, which killed 2 children and wounded 18 others.
Was it sealed until 2025?
And in August, the man fired more than 500 bullets at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, killing a police officer who was a Marine veteran and a father. People like Melissa Hortman and Charlie Kirk should be able to participate in politics as elected officials or active citizens without being shot down in cold blood in the United States of America. People should also be able to go to elementary school, to middle school, to high school, to work, to the mall, and to church without being shot down in explosions of gun violence.
This is Raskin, right? I was unfamiliar with your game.
Requires a leader who puts public safety and national security and the rule of law first. I'm afraid, Director Patel, you've given us reason to believe you've used the powers of the FBI to serve Donald Trump and his agenda of partisan retribution. You've broken your promise not to do that. You've betrayed Jeffrey Epstein's victims and survivors. You've turned your back on the career law enforcement officers of the FBI, and as a result, you've left all of us less safe than before. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. That opening statement may have been longer than any book director's ever written or anyone else has written. Without objection, all of the opening statements will be included in the record. We will now introduce today's witness. Mr. Patel has been director of the FBI since February of 2025 He previously served as Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense, Deputy Director of National Intelligence with the National Security Council, and also as a congressional staffer, as a federal prosecutor, where he focused on national security cases, and he also worked as a public defender in the state of Florida. We welcome our witness, appreciate his work, and thank him for appearing here today. We will begin by swearing you in. Director, would you please stand, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, so help you God? Let the record reflect that the witness has answered in the affirmative. You can be seated as you are. You know, you've been through this yesterday. Did a fine job. Please know that your written testimony will be entered into the record in its entirety. Accordingly, we ask that you summarize your testimony. Director, you may begin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Raskin, and members of the committee. I want to begin today by discussing the appalling assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's important for this FBI to be transparent without jeopardizing our investigation, so a little bit of the timeline is important. Charlie Kirk was unfortunately assassinated on September 10th. We immediately, the next day, released images early in the day in local time in Utah to start the public partnership in our manhunt for the assassin and culprits. At approximately 5 p.m. local time, I arrived on the ground and walked the crime scene myself, and we flew multiple FBI assets in and out to process DNA simultaneously while bringing in evidence response technicians, hostage rescue teams, and other experts to assist state and local law enforcement with their investigation.
I think shift went off yesterday.
On September 11th, the FBI collected and populated and promulgated at a press conference a video of the suspect on the grounds. We also released enhanced images. Due to that
like these are all things that could have and probably would have been done whether he was there or not. Like this is all local police shit, by the way.
Less than 2 hours after we did the video release and the photo release. So within 33 hours, that individual suspect was in custody, and his family, who has since been interrogated, specifically stated to FBI interrogators that because of the video that the FBI released at my direction and because of the photographs that they released, they identified their son, they confronted their son when he swung by their home, and that's what led to his apprehension. We are still, the FBI has that investigation ongoing, and it continues to be ongoing, and I want to thank the state of Utah and the state and local authorities there. And I also want to thank the Attorney General and President Trump for directing resources to allow us to conduct that investigation as we have. Under this administration, the FBI has arrested more than 23,000 violent criminals. 23,000 in 7 months. That's twice as many year-to-date last year. We've taken over 6,000 firearms off the streets. 6,000 guns are no longer in the hands of criminals in 7 months. We've identified and found and located 4,700 child victims. That is a 35% increase year-to-date last year. We have arrested 1,500 child predators. That is a 10% increase year-to-date last year in just 7 months. We've assisted our partners with countless counterterrorism operations around the world. We've captured, at the FBI, 4 of the most top 10 wanted fugitives in the world in 7 months. To put that in perspective, that's as many as my predecessor nabbed in the entirety of the Biden administration. We got 4, we got more coming. On top of that, in 2 weeks, thanks to the help of the CIA, we collected and captured one of the individuals responsible for the horrific Abbey Gate bombing.
This is the Kash Patel Senate Oversight FBI hearing from today. This was just a couple hours ago. The hearing itself just wrapped up, but we're going through the highlights right now. This is Kash's opening statement.
The FBI's national focus on targeting violent crime based on intelligence-driven operations. Ask the citizens of Seattle, Miami, Memphis, Charlotte, Chicago, New Orleans. To specifically highlight New Orleans and Nashville, there has been a 250% increase in violent crime arrests in those cities alone, and other mid-major cities that I've just listed. In just a few short months, we have already unleashed 1,000 FBI personnel across this country. Every single state across this country is getting a plus up.
Investigative bureau agents as though they're rabid dogs. We have already unleashed them.
They do not need to be in Washington, D.C., so we're sending them into the field to each and every one of your states. Because of that, crime is at an all-time low. We had to do it because of the explosion of crime. And maybe the most important stat for Americans to realize, in just 7 months, we are on track to produce the lowest murder rate in modern U.S. history by double digits. Those are results not of mine. Those are results of the men and women of the FBI. If you want to criticize me, bring it on, but do not attack the brave leaders in the field. We are also working 24/7, 365 on the opioid epidemic that is killing more than hundreds of thousands of people a year. We have seized 1,600 kilograms of fentanyl off the streets so far in 7 months. Year-to-date, 25% increase. To put that in perspective, that's enough to kill 1/3 of the American population, 120 million Americans. 100,000 kilograms of cocaine and meth gone off the streets. Earlier this year, I highlighted in Cincinnati, Ohio, how we're getting creative to chase down those that were willing to do harm to our citizens.
What is
not
this
just by
like
striking at the heart
approving
of the fentanyl producers,
wise nod
but the
Jim
fentanyl
Jordan is
precursor
giving?
companies in China. And we indicted for the first time multiple companies and individuals, not just in America,
You
but
know,
in mainland
this
China,
as
that are
Trump
producing
is
the
equipping
ingredients that
agencies to
produce
just
and make
literally
fentanyl
sweep
that
homeless
kill our
people off the
children.
streets
And
and
we're
put them in
gonna keep
asylums.
going. Counterterrorism work, cyber attacks, and foreign adversaries are something the FBI must never sleep on, and we are not sleeping. In the counterintelligence space alone, this year, year to date, 30% increase in counterintelligence arrests from the DPRK,
No, David Birch, he's
Russia,
looking for that
Iran, and
viral clip, the
China.
way he talks like
And
this.
I want the American people to know
That kind of
in this
empty
setting, there's a lot of work
posturing.
that the brave men and women
Again,
out
it's the
there are doing,
influencer
we
show I was
just can't
talking
get
about.
into, but they don't stop. Our cyber threats, ransomware attacks,
That's
those harming our
what they
children
do.
online. We have nearly a 20% increase in indictments arrests in 7 months alone this year. We're going after those that harm our malware, infrastructure systems, telecom systems,
we've
and energy
decreased
structure.
murder to 0%
Combating salt
by
and vault typhoons are just a little bit of the examples we're doing.
Cash
Maybe
Patel
most importantly,
literally
under the
redacted
counterterrorism and
studies
domestic
that
terrorism
showed
umbrella,
white supremacists are
our
more
nihilist, violent
responsible
extremists,
for violence.
and those that label themselves 764.
So like when now
who
people are
wish
like,
to
well,
go
obviously the
online
stats are showing that
and
it's all the
convince
leftists.
children
You cannot trust
to
it
maim
because the
and mutilate
stats coming
themselves
from
and
the
commit
FBI
suicide.
are
And
now
we
so
producing
partisan they
record
cannot be
numbers of
trusted.
arrests under that umbrella organization. We even stopped an individual in the 764 network who wanted to conspire to kill an adolescent girl. He is now in custody. Transparency remains one of my main priorities at the FBI, and this is what I've done in my 7 months at the helm. We've produced more than 33,000 pages of documents to Congress to a variety of committees, including, I believe, 7,500 to this committee alone, if memory serves me correct. To put the 33,000 in perspective, my predecessor in 7 years produced 13,000 pages in total to the United States Congress. His predecessor in 4 years produced 3,000 pages in total. I repeat, I have produced 33,000 pages in 7 years to this Congress and will continue to do so. I'm dedicated to restoring the trust in the mission and the integrity of the FBI, and we cannot do so without congressional oversight, and I promise you I will continue to do so. On the Epstein case, the original sin on the Epstein case was how it was handled by Mr. Acosta when he first brought the case in 2006, 7, and 8. The original case had a very limited search warrant.
They will destroy the Epstein
had a
evidence.
very
They'll
limited
destroy it if
search
it
window,
fucking
had a very limited investigative window. I
like,
was not there when that was
if
search
it hasn't
warrants
already
and that
been.
investigation was launched. I would not have done it that way.
Yeah,
They were limited to
33,000
only
pages
3
of
to 4
document-
years
like-
of investigations from 97 to
Okay,
approximately
dude, that's your
2001
job.
and 2002 to 2005. Mr. Acosta allowed Mr. Epstein to enter into a plea agreement where he served weekend jails.
Why is the camera locked?
for
I don't know why the
trafficking
camera's locked
minor
on
women.
Jim Jordan.
He also was allowed to leave jail to go home on the weekends. Plus, he allowed a non-prosecution agreement to be signed as part of that plea deal, prohibiting future investigations from that prosecution and from that evidence, and prohibiting the collection of further material. That is the original sin. We are working with Congress to produce more than any administration ever has material on Epstein.
Here we go. More than any administration ever has.
Discovery that was previously withheld. How do we work together to make sure that we never again have false walls, non-statutory walls that say the Department of Justice has a prohibition about giving, quote, you fill in the blank, that has led to the chairman not seeing anything until you took over?
I'm wedded to aggressive constitutional oversight. Having been a House congressional staffer, I know that is an important part of securing our democracy. And the way we make it an everlasting, enduring process is by showing the American people the results of what we are doing and the important work of this committee and putting it out to them so they can see government waste, fraud, and abuse. And then they can demand from our constituents and our electors that they want this process to continue.
Last major question here. Some things are so sensitive that we both would agree they cannot be made public. Will you commit to this committee when it is too sensitive to disclose?
He's out here on fucking
make it
Fox
available
and
for
Friends
in-camera
giving,
review by the chairman and
like,
ranking members or
talking
others
about DNA
designated.
evidence that could get the case against the Kirk shooter thrown out.
Mr. Chairman.
And this guy wants to run interference for like, oh, maybe Epstein we can't release it because it's too sensitive,
but my questions today,
right, Cash?
For the director, are ones in which I believe that we do need to codify by agreement or by statute if necessary the kind of openness and transparency that we're seeing from this administration, the kind of discovery that's allowing us to do our oversight properly. And I would hope that that be the follow-up to this, obviously along with the Attorney General, and I yield back my 4 seconds.
Thank you. The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from New York is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Director Patel. In the wake of the tragic murder of Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump
sounds
said,
like Chuck Schumer.
quote, "Violence and murder are the tragic consequences of demonizing those with whom you disagree, day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible," close quote. I would note for the record that Donald Trump has famously demonized practically every person he has ever disagreed with, and therefore, using his own logic, he has put their lives at risk. I should know Donald Trump continuously puts my life in danger. About 2 weeks ago, when I announced my decision not to seek re-election, many people on both sides of the aisle, including the chairman, offered me well wishes and thanked me for my service. Donald Trump, on the other hand,
I know it's not Chuck Schumer. It just sounds kind of like Chuck Schumer,
among other things. Yesterday, I received a threatening note filled with anti-Semitic comments and hateful attacks that mimicked some of the same language used by the president. I am sure many of us on this committee face similar threats every day.
I have Silksong
We have seen
downloaded,
political
but
assaults on both
I
the
haven't
left
played
and
it.
right. The attack on Charlie Kirk,
I've been playing
the
Metal
attempted
Gear and
assassination of the
Kojima
president,
games for my
the
video
murder
on
of the
Kojima.
Democratic Speaker of the Minnesota House, the assault on Paul Pelosi, and the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, for example. Director Patel, do you agree that there is political violence from both the left and the right?
There's too much political violence.
Do you agree, yes or no, that there's violence?
There is too much political
Simple
violence.
yes or no
based
question,
on
dude.
ideologies from either side.
From either side, okay. Are you aware of the study by the Cato Institute, a well-known conservative group,
comrade girl,
that found
that
that
blows.
69% of the violence is from the right?
I'm not familiar with that study.
You're not familiar, okay. I would commend it to you. Are you aware the administration has threatened to use violence as an excuse to crack down on liberty and freedom of speech?
Say that again, I'm sorry?
Are you aware the
God.
administration has threatened to use violence as an excuse to crack down on liberty and freedom of speech?
Nobody at the FBI is doing that.
I didn't ask you about the FBI, I said
I
the
said the
administration.
I speak for the FBI.
I would like to enter the record an article from today's New York Times titled, "Trump Invokes Kirk's Killing and Justifying Measures to Silence Opponents." In the wake of Charlie Kirk's killing, President Trump and his allies have laid out a broad plan to target liberal groups, monitor speech, revoke visas, and designate certain groups as domestic terrorists. I ask unanimous consent to insert this into the record. Thank you. Politicizing the murder of Charlie King to go after free speech is not a legacy I believe Charlie King would have wanted. Moving on, I want to address another topic.
Charlie King.
The FBI has traditionally played a key role
That's a
in
weird
prosecuting
fucking
public
Freudian
officials
slip.
for corruption. But I fear that at a time when the president is accepting planes from Qatar for his post-presidential personal use, issuing
Qatar?
pardons to major donors, and personally profiting from the office of the
I know
presidency,
a lot of these statements
the
are being
FBI may
read
be
off of
abandoning
paper,
its commitment
but
to investigating public corruption. Since its creation in the wake of the
we got to
Watergate
get better
scandal,
readers for this,
the
y'all.
Public Integrity Section has been one of the crown jewels of the Department of Justice, investigating and prosecuting corruption among the nation's public officials and acting as a key safeguard against politicized prosecutions. This section's work has been supported by an elite squad in the FBI.
Thank you very much,
devoted
Tena
specifically to
Aditi
rooting out corruption.
Thank you.
But according
Thank you
to
for $20.
reports,
I
the
appreciate
Public
it.
Integrity Section has now been decimated, and the FBI's Public Corruption Squad has been disbanded. I would like to submit for the record a New York
Martin
Times
Luther Kirk?
article
Oh, that's
entitled
terrible for me.
FBI
That's so bad
Dismantles
for me.
Elite Public Corruption Squad. Yes, unanimous consent? Thank you. These actions are an invitation to corrupt politicians to
Dr.
break
White
the law,
speaking?
since they know that the government is asleep at the
That's a
switch.
good question, Mega Man.
Last month, Senator Warren and I, along with dozens of other members of Congress, wrote to you and Attorney General Bondi expressing grave concern over your decision to effectively legalize corruption and to politicize prosecutorial decisions. And he asked unanimous consent to enter this letter into the record.
Congressional
Thank
hearing
you.
to
We don't have
depose
time today to
Valve,
walk through all
Discord,
your
and Twitch?
questions, all of our questions and concerns.
Do you have
But
a
will
link to
commit
that, Superman?
to answering this letter in short
I would
order
love to.
so that we can understand what factors led to this decision and how it has impacted the ability to hold corrupt officials accountable?
I will review your letter with my team and respond as soon as I can.
You will respond. Thank you. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director,
You're
for
fine.
being here. I appreciate the
find Dr.
change in the FBI and the tone since you've been there. We heard the ranking member, however, describe
Dr. Wowie.
the
God,
FBI
Dr.
under
Wowie
your
is so
leadership
fun to
as
say,
being
unfortunately.
resorting to political enforcement, and you personally as being paranoid. I would just suggest that perhaps that is the projections of the ranking member himself and not you, sir. I want to refer to something that was said yesterday in yesterday's hearing by Senator Grassley.
It really is, Void Critter.
He said it's well understood
really is funny
that your predecessor left you an FBI infected with politics. At your nomination hearing,
it's fucking
he gave you
amount
records,
of people go
made public records
everything
about
gets a
whistleblowers
reboot.
regarding something
Even
called
early
Arctic
2000s
Frost.
anti-video
Arctic
game
Frost
paranoia.
was the FBI case
Like
opened
we are
and approved by
getting
anti-Trump
everybody is
FBI
speed
agent
running.
Thibault.
It's been 20
Arctic
years since
Frost
people went on
became
Fox
Jack
News and
Smith's
were like, yeah, no,
electric
this
case.
kid killed somebody
New
because of
records show
Halo,
that Arctic
and now
Frost
we have
was
people
much broader than
still
just an
referencing
electoral
like
matter. In fact,
even
it was
that's one of the craziest parts to me.
Republican organizations.
Even the cultural
Some examples of the
touchstones
groups that the Ray FBI sought to place
are
under
the
political
same.
investigation
Was it?
included
It was
Republican National Committee,
Geraldo Rivera was
Republican
saying,
Attorneys General Association, and Trump
like we should look into Halo, a game where people are depicted as elites versus grunts, and I wonder if these shooters are thinking about people the same way, and it's like
of Arctic Frost. On that political list for investigation was one of Charlie Kirk's groups, Turning Point USA. In other words, Arctic Frost wasn't just a case to politically investigate Trump. It was the vehicle by which partisan FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors could achieve their partisan ends
Halo
and then properly investigate the entire Republican political
like Halo had a
apparatus.
flash in the pan of relevance with Infinite. Halo is not like a mainstream game right now.
I know that this may be under current investigation,
what
but I
are we
wish to
doing?
ask specific questions about this for just a moment. What search
Yeah, and they say
tools
Hollywood
were used
recycles
in
ideas.
Arctic Frost to view private communications
I love
of targets?
it. Like you know what? There's something about it that does feel familiar. There's something about it that just feels
service of process and the
like
tools
homely.
that the FBI has in
Seeing
our
Jack
infrastructure
Thompson
system,
again.
cybersecurity systems,
All
and
we need now is for
counterintelligence
fucking
systems.
Rockstar to make
Generally
another
speaking,
manhunt.
if I may, I want to use this to highlight the fact that I'm continuing my promise to work with
BB
Congress
Vortex,
to
you're hurting me.
documents
You're hurting me right now.
simultaneously and also conduct
BB Vortex
ongoing
said Halo is like
investigations. I'm giving you as
like
much as I can,
2004.
and I'll give you more when I can.
Were you born then?
Another question regarding that is, were there any directives from the Biden
Halo
White
was from
House
2001.
concerning the Arctic Frost investigation?
Were there any, sorry?
Noetic Fox, unfortunately,
directives or
fucking real. Halo
communications
hasn't been relevant
from the
even
Biden White House itself concerning the Arctic Frost investigation?
I'll just
I say
rely
that
on
as
what was
a
turned over
pretty
today, sir.
Okay.
hardcore.
So I
Halo
want to add here, the search warrants that were
Halo
used
is literally
included
U.S.
the seizing
military
of a U.S.
propaganda,
member
but in
of
space
Congress,
instead.
his phone. I think we all know who that was.
Insofar as any military
shooter
shooter can be seen as jingoistic propaganda, but I personally think it's a little bit deeper than that. There's certainly some stuff to look at in there that is like war on terror propaganda for sure. But like
let's emphasize
I don't
this.
think it is
How many
nearly
hours
that. Like
did it
the
take from
universe
the
of Halo
assassination
revolves
to the
around
arrest
the United
of the assassin,
Nations.
Director?
Like it is the center of the world is in Africa.
That seems
like there is a
swift,
multicultural aspect to Halo that is like very
videos
unmodern
and photographs that you directed to be
Oh
released.
man, the lemon! I want Sobe
That's
Lizard
correct,
Milk
and
to
to
come
put
back.
it in perspective, the Boston bomber took 5 days, and Luigi
God, the
Mangione
things
took
I
5
would
days.
do for a strawberry
Was
banana
the
daiquiri
platform
Sobe.
Discord
Leslie, thank you
forthright
very much
from
for
the start with law
$5.
enforcement about the shooter's communications on its platform?
Discord, the platform ownership has been
Yeah, I'm
working
not
with
actually
our
mad.
lawful process. and
Somebody
we're
was like,
obtaining
Halo
materials
is
them
from
on a rolling basis.
2001. No, it's like
And
Halo 2.
I want to get back here
is
to
from 2004.
Arctic Frost for
I
just a
believe.
second, Mr. Chairman.
And then
I'd like the
3 is
unclassified
2007.
document from the FBI released to be admitted to the record.
No objection.
And a document from the
Yeah,
Economic Times
Brozov,
also
the
be
U.S.
admitted
military
to the
propaganda
record.
game was America's Army.
So,
You can watch.
I'm going to give you the last 30
reviewed
seconds. We could go on about the Epstein case. I've got a bunch
over a
about
year
that,
now
but I'm just
since
gonna
my
let
last
you,
shooter video.
if
That's
you wish
fucking
to respond
crazy.
to either
It's
of the
crazy to think about.
too vitriolic questioning or statement from the Democrats.
The work of the FBI speaks for itself. It's on showcase here today. Anyone that wants to attack the FBI can attack me, but leave our leadership structure alone. When you have 23,000 violent felons arrested, twice as many as this time last year, the work speaks for itself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you. Appreciate your good work Director Patel, yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, before you joined the FBI, you railed against it for covering up Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking ring. Let me refresh your memory with this clip.
It has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
So you finished that December 2023 interview with a challenge to the FBI and harsh words for Republicans in Congress for not getting the Epstein files out to the public. You can see this clip.
Boy pants, and let us know who the pedophiles are.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are, you said. You emphasized that the president and FBI director each had complete authority to release Epstein's client list. You said Epstein's black book is under the,
Dale
quote,
Wilson, I always want to play America's Army
the
and Full
director of the
Spectrum
FBI.
Warrior.
Look at this clip.
Look, I can't speak to the original America's Army, but the one on 360 is legitimately one of the worst games I've ever played.
Black book, FBI.
But Leslie, it doesn't really matter.
That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
Irish DC, thank you for
So you were sworn in as director more than 200 days ago. Now the black book is under your direct control. So why haven't you released the names of Epstein's co-conspirators in the rape and sex trafficking of young women and girls?
The Rolodex, which is what everybody colloquially refers to as the black book, has been released.
Oh, no, you're talking about what the journalist got 5 years ago? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what you were talking about there, the black book under the direct control of the FBI director.
We have released more material than anyone else before.
That's not what they're asking.
The Biden administration, Obama administration had the exact opportunities to release this material, and they never did. And if you are selling the men and women of the FBI, we're not going after child predators. Hang on, you said we're not going after child predators. 1,500 child predators arrested this year, 35% increase,
I'll reclaim my time.
4,700 child victims
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to
found.
reclaim my time if you could instruct the witness. Why have you changed your position? There you were saying it's under the direct control of the FBI director and all of it should be released.
Playing through Sun Delivery.
Why have you changed your position?
I hope they remake
to be released
1
has been
and
released.
2.
And as I told you, the investigation was limited. And let me make something crystal
clear.
I never said
Peace
Jeffrey
Walker,
Epstein
but
didn't
it played
traffic
like
other people, other women,
going
and they're
back
not
and
other
forth
victims.
to the base.
This is the investigation we were given from 2006, 7, and 8, and the search warrants from 2006, 7, and 8. That's what we're working with.
Well, wait, have you released all of the stuff that the FBI has seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the file cabinets, the documents? What about the financial records? Have you released all of that?
Everything the court has allowed us to release.
Which court are you talking about?
3 separate federal courts have come in and said...
We're talking about the evidence you've got. It's got nothing to do with what those courts have.
Do you have any idea how the law works?
Do
you want me to break the law in a federal judge's order?
No, I want you to follow your own word, Director Patel. You said up there it was under the direct control of the FBI director. He had the black book.
Everything the 2019 remake of Modern Warfare was definitely... We have gone to court. You haven't.
Complete your sentence. Everything you have direct control over, you said,
have gone to court, and everything we have direct control over.
Complete your sentence. You said
everything release. We're releasing.
I'd like to complete his answer.
The most brazen.
You began the sentence. Everything you have direct control over, and then you stopped that sentence. You've released everything that you have direct control over.
The stream is louder.
Direct control over and can
it's not showing that on my end. I'm
release.
sorry.
If you're not familiar with the court orders, that's not my fault.
I'm perfectly familiar with them. But how did we prosecute Ghislaine Maxwell?
She was prosecuted with the investigatory material that was collected from 2001 and 2005 because of the non-prosecution agreements and the court orders on the investigations and search warrants. We were not able to develop new information. And by the way, Jeffrey Epstein was out for 12 years, and the Obama and Biden administration did nothing to look at his work, his pedophile network.
Obama and Biden weren't one administration.
But now you're blaming the men and women who conducted this.
No, he's talking about the Obama-Biden.
Other than you. You're not keeping your word.
Yeah.
You said that you would release all of the materials under your direct control.
Has anyone released more information on Epstein than I have? Has anyone?
Much
did
more.
Comey, did Ray?
Much more. Excuse me. Much more has come out in the days since the American people in Congress have been demanding it. But it's coming out in dribs and drabs. Why don't you just release the entire file as you promised to do?
I literally just told you. There are multiple federal court orders. I'm not going to break the law to satisfy your curiosity. You didn't join us when we filed court to release the court orders. You could have. You have lawyers. You could have shown up. You didn't do that.
That's a tiny fraction of the material we're talking about.
That is not.
It is a tiny fraction.
How do you know that? Have you seen everything?
It's all misdirection.
How do you know
Time
that?
of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Director. Just to be clear, how many of the
Matoko
Epstein
Colster,
files
I don't see. I mean, like maybe I don't know. I think
Zero.
Patel is just a
and how
fucking
many have you
moron.
released?
I don't have the number, but it's got to be thousands of pages of stuff.
I was going to ask you to begin whether Americans are safer today than they were 9 months ago, but you cited dramatic increases in criminal arrests since you've taken office.
See, and this is the other half. It is just glazing Trump by way of glazing Patel, being like, look at how much more safe all of our streets are. Look at how everybody there's so many arrested. You're obviously citing so many good sources.
During the 4 years of the Biden administration, to see that
Ivy Gunner, I don't think he's a moron. I just think he's an absolute liar who failed upwards.
Under your tenure.
To which I
Simple
say,
answer is I'm
¿por qué no los
cops
dos?
We're working
¿Por
with our
qué
state and local
no
law
los dos?
enforcement. We're energizing our partnerships. We're bringing on more task force officers. When you have more cops in the streets, when you're using ground-based intelligence, when you're not weaponizing law enforcement and focusing on D.C. and focusing on the rest of America, this is what happens. It is not a significant mind shift in terms of how we maneuver the FBI. They've wanted to do this work since they signed up. We're just letting them.
And we've seen many prominent Democrats oppose your efforts to restore law and order to the streets of our nation.
See, again, it's all in the framing. It's literally a plant. No, it's not a plant. It's just a Republican representative.
Attacking you for that.
Sir, Democrats have been attacking me for a decade, as is the fake news media. They didn't like the fact that I exposed the Russiagate host and the largest weaponization of the FBI, DOJ, and U.S. history. We proved it to be true with congressional oversight. I'm wed to that congressional oversight and will continue to do that work.
Christopher Wray repeatedly warned this committee that the Biden open borders policy had produced a significant increase in terrorist threats that he said kept him up at night. A particular concern, he said, was the 2 million gotaways that entered the country during the Biden administration. That's an average of 41,000 every month. What are the monthly gotaway numbers today?
Sir, I'll have to get back to you on the exact gotaway numbers, but identifying that there are gotaways is step one. Going and manhunting them is step two, and that's what we're committing our resources to do.
That's my next question, is what progress has the administration made in apprehending and removing terrorist threats that came in during the Biden years?
I think you're talking about, if you're not, let me know, known or suspected terrorists.
I want to see if I can find the one I was listening to earlier.
At the southern border, since the southern border's been.
Well, as you should not release the victims, but if there are videos that relate to others who Epstein trafficked to, such as maybe Prince Andrew, or photographs, that you have total control to release.
Yes, and if it exists.
And so why haven't you released it?
Why are you supposing that that is a fact when in fact it is false? Are you saying that
You're saying that none of the videos relate to anything relevant to the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking ring?
Every single video that we have collected pursuant to the prior search warrants has been examined for the last 10 years. And every single video has been utilized for whatever prosecutions were able to be legally brought.
I'm not asking about prosecutions. I'm asking about why you aren't releasing the full Epstein files, including the names of people who were involved in the sex ring that you promised to do before you became FBI director.
I just told you, I'm not going to release downloaded porn of
I'm not asking about that. Fine. I'm asking about all the other files.
What other videos? Tell me.
Like, it's not just porn. There was other shit, dude.
There are no videos that would be relevant to anyone else involved in the Jeffrey Epstein sex ring.
Pursuant to Mr. Acosta's collection of information based on the search warrants. That's all we have in our possession.
And I'm asking you, that stuff.
That's all we got.
I'm not asking all you got. I'm asking you, in that stuff, there's nothing that's related to any other sex traffic, any other people engaged with Epstein in underage sex.
That's correct. To my knowledge, no.
Okay. Let's talk about the witness interviews. 302s of witness interviews. Those are not subject to the court order. Those are not subject to any fictional sealed order for a search warrant. Why aren't you releasing those with the redacted names of the victims?
We are releasing as much as legally allowed. That's why we went back to the court.
How is that not legally allowed?
Sir, do you know how court orders work? Do you know how protective orders
Actually,
work? Actually,
Mr. Patel, I was a real prosecutor for 10 years. I know exactly
shit! So I was a fake one?
And I want to understand what the court order prevents you from releasing witness statements that the FBI took.
Dude said, I actually knew what the fuck I was doing. And Kash Patel went, oh, so I didn't? God, what was it? It was, I just saw a story today from 2016 where Kash Patel was given a order of ineptitude by a judge. Here. Federal judge issues order of ineptitude in prosecutor bench slap, February 9th, 2016. Here we go. If the pretentious lawyers from Maine Justice knew what they were doing or had the humility to ask for help from the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Texas, Hughes wrote, it would not have taken 3 days, 7 telephone calls, 3 voicemail messages, and 1 snippy electronic message for them to indirectly ask the court for assistance in ordering a transcript. Hughes tells the ABBA Journal he can't discuss the order because the case is pending. If the order is not self-explanatory, I failed. The U.S. Justice Department has sought the transcript of an episode in which the judge berated a Justice Department lawyer and then excused him from the courtroom. The Post describes the courtroom incident as, quote, a Texas-sized bollocking over proper attire, wasting taxpayer money and spying for the bureaucrats in Washington. I'm assuming it's a legal thing. Well, no, I do not want to go. The lawyer, Kash Patel, had arrived in court after flying to Houston from Tajikistan. Quote, what is your role in this? Hughes asked when Patel entered the courtroom. Patel responded that he was a member of the trial team. Quote, you're not a member of the trial team, Hughes said, the judge. It's been going for a month or so and you haven't been here, have you? Hughes wasn't finished. Quote, and where's your tie? Where's your suit? He asked. Patel explained that he just flew in from overseas. He didn't wear a suit on the plane. Hughes then demanded that Patel get his passport, apparently for verification. Quote, if you want to be a lawyer, dress like a lawyer. The judge then noted there were plenty of prosecutors in the nearby U.S. Attorney's office and asked Patel how he would contribute to the case. Quote, what is the utility to me and the people of America to have you fly down here at their expense, eat at their expense, and stay at their expense when there are plenty of capable people over there in this room plus over there? You're just one more non-essential employee from Washington. You don't add a bit of value, do you? At this point, Hughes told Patel, you may be excused. The Houston Chronicle spoke with South Texas law professor Jeffrey Korn for his take on the ineptitude order. It's just a slap in the face is what it is, Korn said. When you are a judge, you get the prerogative of saying what you feel and putting it in a ruling of ineptitude, he continued. I've never seen anything like that. Crazy. That is, anyway, that's just a little bit note from Kash Patel's prosecution career.
You should know that as a real prosecutor, when the court hand downs a protective order and a motion to seal, the material is sealed unless
so
that
your
judge
testimony
waives
here
it.
Is that all of those witness statements are under
I said good day, sir.
Order, a protective order.
We are providing everything we can legally provide.
No, that's not my question. My question is, why are those witness statements that are not grand jury testimony, that if they were under a protective order are no longer under a protective order, why are they not being released?
How are they not under a protective
order? Why
order?
are you not going to the court like you did for the grand jury testimony to unseal those records?
The DOJ did go to the court.
No, not on those records. Why aren't you going? You just went on grand jury.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
He does not. He is not following what's being said. He's straight up not comprehending what he's saying.
Can I respond?
Sure can.
Sure can. Jim Jordan, you
Any
smug
allegations
fuck.
that I'm a part of a cover-up to protect child sexual trafficking and victims of human trafficking and sexual crimes is patently and categorically false. and the work of my
So I hope you will talk to them when they have requested to speak with you. Because the victims have requested and you are not responding to them.
Director, yes or no, is the FBI still spying on parents at school board meetings?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still targeting Catholics?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still spying on President
Targeting
Trump?
Catholics.
I don't believe so.
Is the FBI still censoring Americans?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still targeting Americans for shopping at Cabela's or purchasing Bibles?
Nobody is targeted for their faith.
Is the FBI still targeting Americans who are pro-life?
Nobody is targeting anyone for their beliefs.
Is the FBI still cooking the books on crime data?
Yes.
Crime data is real.
Is the FBI still purging agents for conservative viewpoints?
No one at the FBI has asked their viewpoints on policy.
Is the FBI still labeling
Bullshit. Then how did you get rid of all the woke people, dude?
A hate symbol?
No.
Well, maybe that's why you've been able to. What was the number? 23,000 bad guys you've arrested, a huge increase from the same time period in the previous administration. I think you said 1,400 predators, 4,000 children rescued. Were those the facts?
4,700, 35% increase on children rescued.
Yeah. And you got the guy that, Abbey Gate?
We got the Abbey Gate guy.
We had a guy from the 4th District of Ohio who lost his life there serving our country. We appreciate that. Maybe when you're not focused on politics, you can actually do what the FBI is supposed to do. Go get the bad guys, right?
That's what the men and women of the FBI do.
The facehead asking these questions, that sounds like Jim Jordan.
Did John Brennan lie to Congress?
He just said no American is targeted for their beliefs, and they aren't talking about fucking free speech. We're not censoring anybody. Pam Bondi kind of fucking says otherwise.
In December of 2016, Mr. Brennan replied, I received a copy of it from the FBI, and the CIA was very much opposed to having any reference or inclusion of the Steele dossier.
I can't fucking handle this Republican going back to Biden bullshit.
Who spoke on condition of anonymity because of fears of retaliation, and further that the FBI finished, after they finished its review of the files and materials, was sent to a team of Justice Department lawyers who double-checked the FBI's redactions and, quote, were instructed to flag any mentions of Mr. Trump and other celebrities. Now, I have 3 questions for you.
Minerva Lavender, thank you very much for following.
First, how many times did President Trump's name appear in the Epstein files? Was it more than 100, more than 1,000? Were the agents who were pulled from their duties to redact the president's name from the Epstein files working on criminal cases or national security cases or child sex trafficking cases? And are the number of agents that have been reported diverted for these purposes, is that accurate?
No.
No what?
You asked if it was accurate. I said it wasn't.
Okay, so she asked a bunch of other shit too, dude.
None of this happened.
No, I'm saying it was inaccurate.
Okay. How many times did President Trump appear in the Epstein files? More than 100? More than 1,000?
No, and what we've been able to release is what we've been legally able to release, and that has
No, that's not the question. I asked you, how many times did the president's name appear?
I don't know.
It's your testimony. You do not know that answer.
A number of times? No.
Could you tell us how many
he's such a smug little shit.
And what they were working on?
Irish CC, thank you for 100 bits. The FBI always went after states' political opponents over criminals. J. Edgar Hoover continuously denied the existence of the mafia as a criminal underworld until he had no choice after the Appalachian Conference exposed it. And ever since then, he's still focused resources going after civil rights leaders, anti-war protests, and alleged communists. Much to think about. Much to consider. Much to consider. I mentioned it in the nostalgia video, but if you look at the insane intelligence operations run on the American civilian populace in the 50s, 60s, 70s, imagine the shit they are doing now.
To look for Mr. Trump's name.
Like people want to talk about glowies and feds and stuff. You are not even aware. Nobody is aware of the clandestine shit people are probably up to.
On who to send where on priorities and make sure the mission needs are not
hurt, and that's what happened here. Okay, I'll save that conspiracy for a while. I've developed a conspiracy theory about the whole Israel killed Charlie Kirk thing, because I don't think Israel did it, but I think there is a concentrated conspiracy that Israel may be a part of to make it look like Israel did it. I think that is actually a thing. That makes more sense to me.
That occurred, unfortunately, with Mr. Kirk. It's shocking to hear that that's your highest priority, and with that, Mr. Chairman.
That's
I yield
literally
back.
not what I said.
That's literally not what I said.
Gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
God, he wants to make fetch happen
Director,
so bad,
is
too.
President Trump implicated in any wrongdoing related to
Desperados,
Jeffrey Epstein?
it's more of just kind of an oversight committee
Based on
hearing,
the
so it's
entirety of the evidence
about
that
the
we have,
entire job
absolutely
he's
not.
doing.
The president is not implicated.
Correct.
Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about China's malign influence here in America, and you know, we've seen spy balloons traverse the United States. We've seen
Talk about
police
what's on
stations in
what's on
communities
everybody's
around
mind,
America.
on the tip of everybody's
And,
tongue.
sitting
Charlie
in the
Kirk was
chair
just
you're
killed.
in
People
just 2
still
years
have
ago,
tons
there
of
was a
questions
sheriff
about that,
from
but we're going to
Cochise
talk about
County, Arizona, Mark Daniels, that
balloons.
was here, who said that the
that was ludicrous, right?
exponential increase in the amount of fentanyl that is coming into America is directly related to the open borders policies of the previous administration. Do you agree with Sheriff
Who is this
Daniels'
man before he was given this role? He was a podcaster.
In large part, yes.
So,
and kids book author.
Since you've been director, has there been a
He and Kash
reduction
Bongino were
with,
podcasters.
We've talked about how the border is largely secure now, right?
Oh yeah, the border's totally.
The southern border, yes, sir.
The southern border is largely secure. Has there been a?
I'm tired of the fucking glazing.
And the FBI, DEA, ATF, and U.S. Marshals.
All right, here we go.
Chinese spies that are trying to burrow themselves into the politics of America, because we know it's happening, right?
Yes, it is. And what our counterintelligence unit is doing is aggressively seeking the intelligence into where these individuals are working.
Thank you,
We
Stackhat.
are utilizing our operational authorities to go in and investigate them either through our
Oh
human
no,
resource
Dodongo
networks
Manoof,
and
they do
collecting
not give a
information
fuck
through lawful
about
process,
anybody
online,
addicted to fentanyl.
search warrants, and
Like
data
the party
so
that
we can
is
bring proper arrest
slashing
charges
all
and
spending on
publicize
mental
to the
health care, on
world
physical
what
health
they're
care, on
doing
anything
here.
that might help
And just
drug
because we've
addicts
caught
try and
a
actually
few
get off
doesn't
those
mean we've caught
things.
everybody. We've got a lot more to
Like
go.
there is nothing corrective
The FBI
that
arrest-
the Republican
arrested
Party
a judge
supports.
in
But
Wisconsin,
they'll
Hannah
have
Dugan,
Brian
for
fucking
interfering
Kilmeade go
with
on
a federal
Fox
law
News and talk about how,
enforcement
what if we just fucking
Could
opened
you tell us a
King and
little bit
Yellow
about that? And is a
style
judge
Robert
above the law
Chambers
here in the United States of
euthanization
America?
Well,
fucking
no one is, and that
rooms
case is ongoing, but as
for
you stated,
all
these
of
allegations
America's
that there was
homeless? What if we
interference
just
with
put them in the
lawfully
pod? Put them in the
executed
suicide
federal
booth from fucking
law enforcement
Futurama.
priority that was interfered with.
I yield back, Mr.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Patel, I believe you had primary importance in starting Operation Viper in Memphis. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Operation Viper brought in the FBI, the DEA, the ATF to help Memphis police and policing.
Yeah,
the city.
Venerines.
That'll be phase
I
two,
miss
sir.
boring
Phase
politics.
one was,
Instead, we get headlines
FBI
every
and
fucking
local law
day.
enforcement
That's
in Memphis for the
because
last
we
few
don't
months.
have people who are actually doing their jobs. We have people like Kash Patel who want to
did a
go on
good job,
Fox and Friends and give fucking scoops.
Director and the mayor
Like
told me that was
people, we have gotten so used to this shit.
the
It is
FBI are
fucking
trained
insane
in law
how
enforcement to
quickly
know
the
Miranda
world,
rights
I'm turning
and
him
know
down
how
for a
to
second.
policing
It is
and
fucking
good job working
insane
with the police.
how quickly the world
Do you think
moved
that the
on
National Guard is necessary
from
to
less than a
do the
day
work that
after
the
Charlie
FBI is
Kirk
doing
was
now?
killed.
Thank you. I do
The
think it's necessary to
president
finish it,
went
at
on
least
a
his
morning
500
talk
arrests in
show
Memphis and 110
to
federal
break the big
indictments.
news about
What
them
we need to
finding
do is
the
we need to
killer
secure
and
a
having him in
piece
custody.
Of where the criminal conduct is occurring in Memphis.
They kept
We
the
can't work
information
inside
quiet,
of
scheduled
perimeters
a
that are not
time
established
slot
and
on
safe.
what is
We don't
Fox
have the
News,
manpower
essentially now
to
just
give us the space to
state-run
fully go to
media,
the areas where the
parroting
criminal activity remains.
anything the president will do at his entire beck and call.
The National Guard is going to go into the more heavily crime
And
areas.
They're gonna
he
establish,
broke
like they
the
did in
news
Washington, D.C.
like he was
perimeters where
announcing a
local law
fucking new
enforcement
water park
and the
was getting
FBI,
built.
DEA, ATF, and U.S. Marshals
Like
can
it
go
was
into.
a literal
We can't
scoop.
Be going into all these areas knowing that
And
they're
the
extremely
world,
volatile
like,
and
to
jeopardizing
tell
the safety
you
of our
how fucking insane that is, and granted, grading on a curve of a pretty fucking insane week, where Charlie Kirk was shot and there's been the entire roller coaster of why, how, what happened there. So grading on a curve of media insanity, but it probably doesn't even make the top 10 most batshit things that happened last week. And everybody just takes this shit in stride. We've been so fucking like inculcated to just be okay that all of these attention-whoring, craven, wannabe influencer goons, these people who have the inner spirit of Jake Paul,
Well, the SAC and then ultimately the chain of command up to Washington
are just leading everything. And that's like we're
task force that was put together that is going to be led by an interagency.
Bonkers.
The heads of
Banooners.
U.S. Marshals, DEA.
Yeah, no, remember Obama's tan suit scandal? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I yearned for the fucking days when the people would get mad over Obama wearing a tan suit, and that being that's a breach of the president is supposed to be professional, whatever the fuck Rush Limbaugh is saying.
About slavery, but that was the history. It needs to be taught. Blues, Elvis, Beale Street, right, barbecue, and people should come. It's not a troubled city. We've got some crime, but it's not a troubled city. We're not troubled, and we love our city, and we hope that the National Guard doesn't come in and cause people to have questions about Memphis, because it's a city they should visit. Let me ask you this about, you said that the homicide rates are coming down to an all-time low.
Oh, God, I yearn for Sarah Palin being the pinnacle of crazy.
I think the FBI
Yeah.
will get back to you on this.
What does it say that you say Sarah Palin and I immediately picture Lisa Ann?
I didn't think you could beat Ozzie and Harriet's time. Secondly, you mentioned the Epstein case. Did any of the women that were victims, they came up here and had a press conference and all, did any of them contact your office and ask to give information?
To my knowledge, no, sir.
If they did, let me ask you first, is there a statute of limitations on sex crimes like that, with sex with a minor, rape?
The DOJ is the expert, but I do not believe there's a statute.
6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist.
Aren't they supposed to remove water bottle labels? Are they? Is that a thing?
I don't know exactly who they are.
No, IRCC, I know why. I know why.
Into any of these people, and have you?
Oh yeah, Michelle Bachmann. I miss Michelle Bachmann.
Sir, I have asked my FBI
like
to review.
Compare and contrast what used to be a crazy white woman in the news with like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and fucking Nancy Mace. Night and day. Pancakes and waffles.
To me, launching a new indictment.
So is the loophole here, or is it your assertion that these victims aren't credible, that the 302s maybe didn't produce credible statements that rise to a probable cause?
It's not my assertion, sir. It's the assertion of 2 different United States attorneys' offices from 3 separate administrations who investigated those same materials in lifetime.
Are the 302 documents in the FBI's possession?
They reviewed all that, yes, sir.
And so have you reviewed those 302 documents where the victims name the people who victimized them?
If I personally know, but the FBI has.
So how can you sit here?
You're supposed to be the director, dude.
There are no names.
I said
I named one today.
I said we are not in the practice at the Department of Justice FBI of releasing victims' names. That is not what we do. We are also not in the habit of releasing incredible information. That's not what we do. But multiple authorities have.
That's literally what you've done.
Okay. I got to move on here. Were you present when the AG had the White House event when she released the binders to social media influencers?
I was, yes.
So if you're willing to meet with social media influencers who stood to benefit from the sensational and sad stories of these victims, will you meet with the victims as well?
The FBI will meet with anyone who has new information.
Will you personally meet with them?
The FBI and the professionals who are handling the cases will.
Were you instructed that it was important to release the documents to the Oversight Committee on the day of my introduction of the discharge petition to release these files?
I don't know what day that was, so no.
Well, they were released that day, and there were victims' names who weren't redacted because they were in such a rush, and the victims are not happy about that. Have you investigated any of the CIA connections? Have you seen the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein? And if you wanted to see it, would they show it to you?
Well, I can speak for the FBI, and that's presuming there's a CIA case file. And I've reviewed everything that the interagency, not I, the FBI, that was provided to us.
Would you be willing to look at the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein?
If there is such a file, and if it has not already been turned over to the FBI will look at any new investigative leads.
Have you made any progress on the pipe bomb investigation January 6th? And have you made any progress
I want biscuits.
on the motive of the Las Vegas
I want
shooter?
a biscuit real bad.
As to the first, it's an ongoing investigation, and we have made progress. As to the second, sir, I'll have to get back to you.
All right.
I love when the director of the FBI's second most said phrase is rain check. I'm gonna hit you back with that.
That says we did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties with the insignia of the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Without objection.
Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous consent request. It's a article entitled DOJ.
Marmot King, I don't get how there's so many horrible crimes with hundreds of wealthy, powerful people, but nobody wants to prosecute them. It's because when you are the inequality in America is such that you do not have the power of litigation that rich people do. Like, if you try and sue somebody, they can take you for all you're fucking worth. Because they have the power to fucking hire 10 of the best lawyers ever. And what are you going to do? The most you can probably get. I'm thinking about it from my perspective. I couldn't afford a fucking lawyer. I don't have the money for a lawyer for anything. I'd have to get something pro bono.
It's a fact that China is America's most significant national security threat. Isn't that correct?
I would say so, sir.
And you would agree with me that China wants to...
oh, yeah, Uploader. Last week I learned that cornbread mixed from a box can go bad. I once made cornbread that was at least 30 years old in a box.
And economically, isn't that correct?
At least.
I think so.
And sir,
just to see what would happen. It didn't rise. I mean, it cooked.
7 months, yes. 7 months.
Because the active ingredients are still there, but like...
Have you held any stock in any companies founded in China?
No bueno.
I don't believe so.
Well, you do own stock in a company known as Elite Depot, don't you?
Which one, sorry?
Elite Depot.
Yeah, it was from when a family member passed away.
I'll have to get back to you. I think it's a law firm and it's a company out of Singapore.
Okay, well, no, the company out of Singapore, which is owned by Elite Depot, is the Shein Company, which was founded in China, correct?
That company operates out of Taiwan.
Well, they changed their headquarters from China back in 2022 to Singapore for tax purposes, but it's owned by a Chinese billionaire. I think his name is Charlie Zhu, and you own stock in the company that owns Shein.
Which I disclosed during my confirmation process.
You certainly did. And now, do you still hold that stock in that Chinese company?
Oh, yeah. The Don't Go Manu, $500 an hour. I bet there are a ton of hours involved in a trial. Yeah. Like, when you get lawyers like that, you are paying tens of thousands of dollars as a rich person. And it's because they fucking win. Is it true Bernie called it a genocide finally? I haven't seen that.
Stocks in this Chinese company?
I disagree that it's a Chinese company, but I was...
It's owned... We just went over this, dude.
When you're appointed, makes a call on what you can and can't possess.
Well, now, let me ask you.
All right, I'm gonna keep scrolling.
Let's go for that.
We have arrested 1,500 child predators in the last 7 months.
Under investigations initiated by the prior directorship.
Appreciate the director's good work, and we really appreciate that the time the gentleman has expired. We now have the gentleman from Texas.
He's basically like, yeah, but that was all under the past administration, and the guy has to cut in and be like, oh, we appreciate the director's good work. We gotta move on.
Significant organized effort on the left side of the political spectrum to advance criminal organizations.
I guess he did call it a genocide. That's fucking rad.
That what we've seen this in daily action. Are you familiar with the report that came out this last Monday from the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund?
I'm not familiar with that, sorry.
So this report came out this past Monday.
Jaden X3, good to see you here.
Significant amount of the money flowing out of George Soros and other leftist
Christ, here we go.
Funders has been funding DAs and prosecutors, and quote, many of these DAs had never managed an office, prosecuted a criminal case, developed organizational policies. In dozens of America's largest cities and counties, this report finds these progressive district attorneys have outsourced core parts of the American criminal justice system to activists and political donors, taking direction and advice on everything from staffing decisions and communications strategy. Organizations is a complex web of donors going in through these organizations.
Zero Zorex, he waited until the UN declared it officially before using that word.
And prosecutors out there putting criminals on the streets. Does the FBI director agree that this exists? And
yeah, I do think it's too little, too late. Like it is so much easier to.
The organizations such as Tides, the Fair and Just.
Like, of course, look at what's happening right now. It's been a genocide the entire fucking time, and now Gaza is a goddamn parking lot.
Soros through and to these organizations and to the various prosecutors.
Like it is too little, too fucking late.
On our streets, including the brutal murder of the Ukrainian refugee in Charlotte. I bring that up because that is one component of the problem. In addition, we have the organized effort targeting our border. The NGOs, the nonprofits in the deep pockets, the United Nations, charitable
the nonprofits with the deep pockets and non-government organizations. They want to give, like, they want to talk about this deep state as if it's a real thing, and then they have to just grab at straws.
Taxpayer dollars flowing through the United Nations and
well, no, because Soros, it's soon it's not going to be George Soros. It's already Alexander Soros, his son, who's in charge of it.
That resulted in fentanyl in our communities. That resulted in the death of Jocelyn Nungare, of hundreds, thousands even, as the director testified, 100,000 people dying from these narcotics every year. All of this in an organized effort, a complete effort by the radical left to use taxpayer dollars and these dollars to put people on our streets. In addition, the extent to which we've seen now with the Southern Poverty Law Center and their hate map targeting, for example,
Sono Jam, hey there.
Family Research Council.
It's going.
Where we had a shooting right here in D.C. over a decade ago, putting Charlie Kirk, putting a target on TPUSA, Antifa, other radical organizations that are very specifically organized in targeting conservatives and ordinary Americans.
Sono Jam, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1.
Advance transgender agenda.
Here, they can't not talk about trans people.
That we will see.
Oh, they love us. They love us so many.
Shot Charlie Kirk. Here's my question. Will you as the director, and are you as the director, pursuing all legal channels to follow the truth wherever it may lead on this organized effort, one, and two,
organized effort.
Congress should take all action necessary to expose this web.
Thank you so much. Fiery One, thank you for $5. I wonder what it must be like to live in fear that George Soros is behind everything, how blissfully stupid you have to be for it. Also, love your stuff. It's probably pretty easy. Like, you can just continually go back to the same thing.
Following the money in every organization and every
following the money. There we go.
That is violating the federal code, and it doesn't matter what your background or ideology is. We are following the money. We are using legal process to following that money, issuing subpoenas to follow that money, using grand juries to follow that money, and when we have results to recommend for prosecution to the Department of Justice, we will do that, and we will continue to publicize documents through Congress, yes, when we make these findings.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like unanimous consent to insert the
Director Patel, how are you so cool?
Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund that I alluded
Fiery
to
One, thank you for
before.
subbing too.
I would ask unanimous consent to add a 2024 list provided by the Center for Immigration Studies on these United Nations and other affiliated groups that are responsible, over 250 of them, for moving individuals into our country in a coordinated effort. I would like a unanimous consent to insert a letter that I sent that currently has 33
I love
members of the
Shitan.
United States House of Representatives have signed on it, calling for a special select committee to pursue the organized effort from the radical left to target our way of life.
Yeah, like Andromeda Archives. I've been called a paid Democrat operative.
And putting us in danger.
Like for my the documentary I did where I was on the streets in LA, I got called a paid Antifa operative by people in the comments, and it's like, dog, I fucking wish. I fucking wish. I would look. My production value would be way better if I was rocking George Soros money. I'll say that.
Ensure that data from U.S. companies is not harvested by the Chinese Communist Party.
Like I don't keep it. I don't just keep it real to rock the low vibe indie aesthetic. I actually am that poor.
Statement by Marco Rubio, then Senator Marco Rubio, which warned Our U.S.
Thank you,
our
Nehemiah, for
UK
$10. It's like Project
allies
Esther, the Heritage
about
Foundation
deep
plan.
ties
Hang on.
to the People's
The Heritage
Republic
Foundation
of China.
plan to fight anti-Semitism and the anti-Semitic tactics used to identify a Hamas support network. The forward has great coverage on it. I recommend it. I'll have to check that out. I don't know if I've seen that. RDY2810, thank you for $5. There's no Trump derangement system. It's more like trans derangement system. They talk about trans people more than like any brunch lib freaked out about Trump's first term. It's so crazy.
Institute. Also, a unanimous consent request to enter into the record a NPR report from July of 2024. GOP vows to make America safe again. Statistics contradict their growing crime claims.
Without objection.
Also, a report out of the American Presidency Project dated January 17, 2025. Record low crime.
Sorry, if it looks like I'm looking
Biden-Harris
down, it's because I'm listening as I'm moisturizing my hands.
Also, Joe Biden is correct that violent crime is near a 50-year low, which was a PolitiFact publication of May 2024. And last but not least, a FBI releases 2024 reported crimes in the nation statistics. These are FBI statistics published on August 5th, 2025, which details decreases in murder, rape, aggravated assault, and robbery in 2024.
Without objection. Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for unanimous consent.
Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to submit two sets of documents. The first is a series of emails from the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. They are making FOIA requests to get their own FBI files and not having any success. So I want to
the victims can't get their own FBI files.
The second document that I want to submit to the record, for the record, I know we don't usually read these. This one's not readable. It's completely redacted for the most part, the first 50 pages. This is actually the search warrant that was served on James O'Keefe for a diary that he had already given to the government 2 months before. And as it turns out, there were no indictments here, yet he still doesn't know why he was raided, and I think he deserves to know. So,
without objection.
Thank you.
The chair now recognizes
Project Veritas, James O'Keefe?
Director, the first time you saw Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files. Did you close the files or keep reading?
I've reviewed not the entirety of the files, so I have.
You haven't reviewed all of the Epstein files?
Personally, no.
You're the director of the FBI. This is the largest sex trafficking case the FBI has ever been a part of. Buck stops at the top, and your testimony today is you have not reviewed all the
It is, again, yeah, he wants to sit here and be Big Billy Badass and be like, if you're going to attack the FBI, attack me. And it's like,
historic speed, because the men and women of the FBI are given the resources to reduce the homicide rate, to reduce the drug trafficking rate, to reduce the amount of children that are being trafficked, and the number of
it sounds like those children being trafficked would appreciate the director reviewing the files. You said you don't know the number of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at least be 1,000 times?
We have released every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Reclaiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times.
It's not. It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number, but it's not that.
Do you think it might be your job to know the number?
Yeah.
My job is to provide for the safety and security of this country. My job
That's part
is
of
to
it.
engage in political innuendo, so you can go out to the sticks and get your 20-second hit in your fundraising article. Keep going, reclaiming your time, because the people of California are being underserved by your representation.
If the president is not implicated, why not release everything that involves him?
We have released everything, the president and anyone else's side, that is credible and lawfully be able to be released. Your fixation on this matter and baseless accusations that I'm hiding child pedophiles is disgusting. Anyone that says that needs to look at the stats alone and go back to the state of California, who's receiving the biggest surge in FBI resources through my redeployment, because the cities of Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco.
No, because the government is cracking down and sending federal troops there. to leverage their power.
Never spoken to President Trump about the Epstein files.
Did you ever tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The Attorney General and I have had numerous discussions about the entirety of the Epstein files and the reviews conducted by our team.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
And we have released where President Trump's name is in the
It's a simple
Attorney's
question.
file.
Did you tell the Attorney General that the President's name is in the Epstein files?
During many conversations that the Attorney General and I have had on the matter of Epstein, we have reviewed.
The question is simple.
Who
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out?
Yes
if you're gonna
or
mock
no, Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No? A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F?
it sounds like you don't want to tell us. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files?
Why don't you try serving your
Director,
constituency?
God,
by
you're
focusing
such a
on
fucking
reducing
child,
violence
dude.
in this country and the number of pedophiles that
Director,
are legally
reclaiming my
harbored
time,
in your
Director.
sanctuary cities in
Director,
California.
reclaiming
I'll
my
work
time.
with you on that. Do
Regular
you
order,
wanna
Mr.
work with
Chairman.
us on that?
Director,
Time
reclaiming my
belongs to
time.
the gentleman from California.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
Question has been asked and answered.
You have not answered it.
You
and
have not
take your
answered it.
evasiveness as a consciousness of guilt. Director, did Donald Trump ever say to you, just find and release the entire truth? Don't worry if I'm in it.
The instructions from the administration were to release all credible information, and we have done that.
Who
Did Donald
judges
Trump
what's
ever
credible?
Provide information about Jeffrey Epstein as an informant.
Donald Trump has not been, and I can only speak for the FBI, an informant of the FBI.
So, Director, you've played this.
Then why did that one
shell game
motherfucker
where
say
you
it?
You can't release everything because the court has said that it legally is not allowed to be released. But the court calls bullshit. Judge Richard Berman said that when you went to the court, quote, information contained in the Epstein grand jury transcripts
Oh man,
pales in comparison.
that's such. I kind of want that as an audio clip for a soundboard. The court calls bullshit.
So let's move on, Director. You wrote a book.
Oh man, that's so
You
good for
identified 20
me.
individuals
I'm
in
gonna
that
have to.
book.
I'm gonna have to cut that. I'm gonna have to clip that. That's so good.
Thank you.
The
My
court
children
calls
find it
bullshit.
flattering. 20 of those individuals have been investigated or have had adverse actions. Director, considering that you have identified these people as, quote, government gangsters,
That's so good.
will you recuse yourself from making any investigation decisions about
IRCC, thank you for another 100 biddies. There are laws where if you're in an occupation where you're in charge of children, like a career or a teacher, you're legally required to report suspected abuse. However, 33 states have laws exempting the clergy from reporting abuse. Yeah, it's the clergy laws around exemptive reporting, and it's not just abuse, by the way. It can be other things like sexual assault, harassment. I don't know if it counts murder, but it is to maintain the sanctity of like the priestly bond that the priest can absolve you of your sins if you go to confession and all that shit. Chris Speaks, thank you for rating with a party of 15.
Respond if he wants. We'll make sure
Thank
he
you.
has time to do
Okay.
that.
My question
We'll
is,
continue.
will you, Director, recuse yourself, yes or no, from investigating or making decisions about the 60 individuals, including myself, that you identified
Edge,
as
thank you for
government
following.
gangsters? Yes or no?
Time of the gentleman has expired. The witness may respond if he would like.
And the answer was no, as I heard.
Correct.
Okay. The gentleman from Wisconsin, the gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Director.
Yeah,
Patel,
it
for
includes
being here
murder,
today.
basically anything you expose a confession with exemption of the intent to
I
harm
wanted to
again.
talk a little bit about the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the FBI's subsequent investigation. I know it's really sensitive.
Quote unquote investigation.
You can make the call as to whether or not, obviously, it's something that you can respond to, but I think it's still fresh on many people's minds. I want to congratulate you and Utah law enforcement for the work you did in identifying the suspect and apprehending him. According to public reports, and I think this is what maybe it's, I still have questions about, and maybe the public does. According to public reports, the alleged shooter arrives on the Utah Valley University campus nearly 4 hours before the shooting. Was that your understanding? Is that kind of...
I'll let the public reports reflect themselves. I don't have the exact timeline.
Okay. So we don't have any idea kind of his prep or how he set up or how he utilized that time when he first showed up on campus?
All of those are being currently investigated through our cell phone analysis and through our witness interviews, and the state of Utah has now announced charges seeking the death penalty against his suspects, so we're a little limited in what we can continue to see.
Sure, I understand. And that suspect, like you referred to, is then captured on security footage jumping off the roof of the alleged shooting location, the Losey Center. Do we have any idea how the suspect got up on the roof in the first place? I think for members of Congress, especially after Butler in Pennsylvania, it's just unimaginable that there could be some type of security breakdown prior to an event of that size where somebody could access a rooftop.
So not commenting on the case, but having gone to the crime scene and walked the steps that we believe were taken, the roof was actually readily accessible through an exterior stairwell, so anyone could have gotten on it.
Okay.
How did he even get this job? He's a Trump loyalist. That's literally how.
Flees on foot to kind of the
like literally
area where he drops the rifle, wraps it in a towel, and then proceeds to his.
I want to get to the one.
And basically,
God, we were watching. We got maybe.
So, do we have any?
Let's see if I can get it.
It's that simple. If you have a fugitive warrant for a violent felony offense, and we are not able to.
Big problems, and I think finally the FBI trying to turn America's viewpoint on certain political issues. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about what was done in Mexico with regard to shipping weapons, fast and furious, shipping weapons into Mexico in an effort, I think, to try to turn the Americans against the First Amendment. But in any event, what scares me is, and all these horrible things that were done in the past, there were individual FBI agents who participated in them, in which apparently their supervisors told them this is okay or even admirable. And what I'm going to ask you, are you able to do anything to make sure that in the future these corrupted FBI agents understand the importance of religion in our life, and they're not
have a good night, Ashley Brads.
They understand parental rights and the idea that traditionally in America, parents have the ability to object when their young 5 or 6-year-old children or
here we go, more trans shit.
Young children are getting what most people consider highly inappropriate sexual contact. What are we doing there to try to make sure we don't have problems with these FBI agents again, or make sure that in the future administrations they would object if they are asked to behave in such a immoral fashion?
2 things. If you are corrupt, you don't work at the FBI. It's that simple.
Okay.
So we don't tolerate any form of corruption.
Why are they just casually throwing conspiracy theories into their statements? Because that's the conservative narrative.
Just to show the American public.
Like all of these representatives, their finger on the pulse is on places like Twitter. So when Chaya Reichik or Matt Walsh or Benny Johnson or whoever starts spreading insane conspiracy narratives, they go along with it. They buy into it, and they spread that shit.
I'm kind of anticipating my next question. I talk to retired FBI agents in my area who sometimes retired in part because they hated the woke, anti-conservative culture.
Like, listen to this shit.
And they are
talking about the woke FBI.
About new agents, not on your watch, but before this, being corrupted in the universities before they were hired, and they are very worried about what will happen with the new agents. So I think you're answering my question. Do you feel you'll be able to a certain extent solve the problem of inappropriately woke agents filling up the agency in the past, because now you're going to have a larger pool to draw from?
Everybody that comes to work at the FBI is allowed to have their own belief system, but they're not allowed to bring that belief system into the workplace. And anyone that does won't work at the FBI.
Okay, very good. Now, recently, there's another potential scandal, I guess, a politically motivated thing, Arctic frost. Do you want to comment on that? And it appears one more time as perhaps the FBI was getting involved.
Eco-friendly. Peden is banned?
Considered political.
What happened?
Events.
Why did Eden get banned?
We are not getting involved in political events.
Oh, was it for...
Except this one.
Okay. And...
was she not that,
with regard to...
careful.
Prejudice against...
for a week? I think she flew too close to the sun on the Charlie Kirk stuff. Got a little too enthusiastic last week. Yep. I saw her being online when I was online last week. And I don't remember what the title was, but I remember it being like, ooh.
Gentlemen, time has expired. Gentleman yields back the.
I'm not gonna, like poo-poo anything, but.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director Patel, for your endurance and your perseverance.
Your endurance and your perseverance. Get the fuck out of here.
For all you've shared. First of all, let me start by saying that I was very grateful and glad to see that the FBI has joined the investigation of the tragic and brutal murder of Irina Zarutska in Charlotte.
Oh my God, here we go.
By my district. This woman, as you know, fled the war in Ukraine only to be killed in cold blood by a man who had no business being on the streets whatsoever.
Here's more Democrat takeover bullshit.
Irina to death on video, had been arrested 14 previous times, served prison time, and was diagnosed with a severe mental illness. In response to the previous offense, the magistrate.
I want to pause really quick to talk about, because I haven't really talked about the Irina Zarutska thing. And again, if you have not seen this video, don't watch it. It's heinous. It's not nearly as graphic as Charlie Kirk, but it's pretty fucking vile. At every level, every time they talk about it, it was Democrat DAs, it was Democrats that were responsible for this. Violence like this, who was from somebody, by the way, who was clearly in need of mental health care services. The reason that when people are arrested, diagnosed, and then released is because people don't, like, our state institutions don't have the money to support all the people who actually need help. Mind you, we can give that money to our state institutions if we so chose. But instead, America would rather run on a for-profit prison system. We would rather have privatized prisons where people are incentivized to actually do violent crimes, and that way police can send them to prison where they can make the privateers more money. We are not incentivized. The criminal justice system in America is not incentivized at any point to help somebody before they become a violent problem. That's not what it's here for. And the stripping away of any artifice around people wanting to actually support mental health care, being unable to, the statutes, the funding for mental health care, for just health care of any kind, being completely done away with, written out, reduced all over the place. We can't, again, we can pay for this shit. We could, oh my God, we could have so many high-paying, good, quality jobs. We could have so many people going to college to work in these fields if the investment were made back into American communities with American tax dollars. And it would require billions. But if you are talking about, you're talking construction jobs for building new medical centers, you're talking about orderly jobs, you're talking about entry-level jobs for staffing, you're talking about long-term jobs for doctors, psychiatrists. They're talking about good, solid security jobs. You're talking about jobs that would benefit everybody, not just people who are able to, pay for big college degrees or whatever the fuck, but then also you are opening up even more pathways for for social mobility, for economic mobility, when you fund college degrees for communities that are also underserved. We could put all of this money, plenty of tech jobs too. Yeah, we could reinvest all of the shit that we spend, all of the billions we're spending on defense and the Department of War. We could, instead of fucking taking out over $200 million for Trump's vanity fucking ballroom in the White House to turn it into Versailles, we could be actually trying to reinvest in American communities that need it, with structures, with programs, with facilities that would help at every level. They would help people get good, stable jobs. They would help people want to socially move to different economic brackets. Having this kind of groundwork Also, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, where so many rural hospitals across America are facing massive staffing and funding shortages because a lot of that shit got cut from the most recent spending bill. Places that people depend on in rural communities, the places that we're still making food, that do not have enough staff or don't have the proper funding for life-saving care of all kinds. It is this massive hole in the economy, the medical industry, that just really, it sucks everything into it and doesn't let it out. Because once you actually have that groundwork laid, once we actually have more stability, because we fucking don't have that now, that is the point at which you can actually have social programs and social care programs that help reduce crime by being able to not just help people get clean, but stay clean. By being able to not just prevent violent crime, but give the mental health care people who otherwise may be incentivized or just do violent crime because they need mental health care, you are then able to prevent that from happening. All of these issues fold into one another, which is why conservatives always make it as simple as possible. It's why all of these dumbass, dipshit, LARPing Nazi fucks on the internet who couldn't even look sideways at an elementary level. I mean, they don't really have elementary level, but at a beginner college Econ 101 course, they see something like what happened to the Ukrainian woman, and they're like, well, obviously the problem is the blacks. Obviously the problem is immigrants, or obviously we need to round up all the homeless. Because those are far more simple solutions than the fact that the people we elect on both sides of the aisle are not doing anything they could be. And even worse, the even harder truth to parse, I think personally, for so many people, is that not only are people not doing what they could and should be doing, but additionally, they're doing all sorts of other shit. We can send billions of dollars in aid to Israel to be flattening children that you have to see on your TikTok every day. But if you think about that too long, you cannot get the mental health counseling to deal with that shit. We can have a country where guns, you can just go into a fucking Walmart and buy a weapon of war. But when you see a mass shooting, or when one comes to you, we do not have the facilities available for you to be able to decompress it. Marmot King, thank you for $5. Graves, thank you for $5. As a reminder, most states that privatize their prison systems have minimum occupancy clauses that fine them for not having enough inmates. Yeah. And that it works, again, it's all of these cycles stacked on top of each other. So then they are then incentivized. This is where you have a bunch of shit about mandatory minimum sentencing, and how things will become legalized, things like weed. But then you have black people who are, by the way, people want to talk about, well, they're incarcerated at a much higher rate. Yeah, it's because of shit like mandatory minimums. It's because of shit like black men getting incarcerated for like possession charges, whereas, this fucking white hockey player dipshit who, rolled his car and killed 2 people, well, he was a star athlete, and the judge knew his father. That was a good man. There are so many pieces to the puzzle of inequality in America, but that doesn't make it hard to put together. It's complicated. It's complex to try and understand, to try and parse through it. And goddamn, you sound like an insane person if you try and explain it to somebody. But it is worth it to understand how more importantly than all of these things moving together, understanding the core reason of why the people in power don't want to actually do much about it. And that is because of class consciousness and class awareness. I saw somebody mention earlier, they do not want there to be social or economic mobility. Who's gonna put their fries in the bag? Like, listen to the way, and I'm not talking about, millionaires. I'm not talking about local car dealership owners. I'm not talking about the petite bourgeois fucking small business tyrants. I'm talking about the sociopaths like Peter Thiel, like Elon Musk. I'm talking about the people who actively see themselves as a different breed of human. Who, if Elon Musk passed you on the street, he does not regard you as a human with equal rights or equal importance. At all. And that corrosive viewpoint, there's a lot of things that trickle down. Money and profits aren't one of them in America, as we've seen. Thank you, Ronald Reagan. But these viewpoints about the quote-unquote lower classes, about the proletariat, the working class, do. It is corrosive. It infects and infests all of our halls of power. So that when you try and advocate for even small things, like mental health care for people who need it, that we shouldn't just scoop homeless people up off the streets after how many of them, and this is as somebody, I've known people who are homeless. I've known people who were former drug addicts. Every single one of them. No homeless person in the history of ever has just left a perfectly normal, fine, completely economically stable life behind and been like, you know what? I think I'm going to hit the rails and get addicted to crack. I think that's the way for me. Yet that has become the conservative narrative touted by absolute fascist pieces of shit like Matt Walsh, repeated by people like Stephen Miller, at least in spirit, because they do not see them as actual people. They see them as quite literally, in the grand tradition of bloated, blowhard pieces of shit, they see them as useless eaters. They see them as acceptable losses for their profit. When people talk about, well, this is the best system, capitalism obviously is the best and socialism doesn't work. Look around you. When I'm done with this stream, I'm going to go visit my partner at work on their lunch. I guarantee I will see at least 3 people tweaking out on the street. And every single one of them deserves a roof over their head and help and support. And it's because we do not put enough money into these communities, into these services, that the whole thing fucking starts again. And the infuriating part is how much it gets weaponized by dickheads like this motherfucker asking Kash Patel right now. Talking about how this man who was arrested 14 times and he stabbed this poor girl and did all this stuff. Okay, he was arrested 14 times. Do you know why somebody gets released that many times? Somebody gets released early? Is because there aren't enough facilities to hold them. Because there isn't enough care to go around. Because we do not put enough money from our tax dollars into actually servicing people in the community. And then they will talk about, we looked at I think it was in San Francisco, we looked at a article last year that I think Elon Musk retweeted some bullshit about, where everybody was talking about, see, it doesn't help. Conservatives were using it as a talking point to be like, see, it doesn't actually help if you, when you give homeless people a place to stay, they'll just ruin it because they're just animals and they just love living in filth and all this other bullshit they like to say. And when you actually read the article, the facility, the homes, were a formerly condemned hotel building that was infested with roaches, black mold, all sorts of vermin. Nothing fucking worked. Even when people try in this country, it is so hard to crawl up from out of that gutter. The gutter that people are continually kicked down into. Look at the fucking shitty jobs reports. It just became more unlikely for first-time home buyers to actually buy a home than any other time in modern history in America. There are underlying and so many underlying issues here. And they all interact with one another. But they should lead to the inexorable conclusion. The thing that you should, if you walk away from this rant of mine with one thing, it should be that all of this is judged based on what is going to make somebody money, the most of it, and the quickest. Because it does not behoove the rich, the wealthy, the quote-unquote elites. It does not benefit. Even and this includes, by the way, media talking heads. This includes people like Tucker Carlson, Matt Walsh, Jesse Waters, like all this shit. The people who spread this propaganda. And including, by the way, people on CNN, MSNBC, people like Rachel Maddow. Because they are in that class as well. It does not benefit them to advocate for economic policies that do not increase their wealth. Which is, by the way, what a lot of this shit would do. When people talk about taxing these multi-billionaires, the richest people in the world, and using that money for infrastructure, and people get, well, no, they earn that money. They like to spread fear about it being socialism and communism. Yeah, maybe at some point, some economic professor looked at like, hey, maybe we should do this. But no, it is the corrective surgery that the body politic of America desperately needs. Because all of these different striations, all of these different circles have been hemorrhaging for so long. And it's right in plain view. We all know it. Fiery One, thank you for $2. I'm 33 years old. I'm never having my own home. Dolly effing Parton, thank you for following. I'm still struggling. Yeah, my brother has CTE. If he didn't have military housing right now, he'd be on the street. He just kicked an alcohol addiction thanks to finally getting medicated for his symptoms. What am I fucking saying? The amount of friends I've personally had who have been like, hey, you should go get checked out for ADHD, autism. You should go get medicated. You're having a really hard time focusing on this. I think you might have this. Have you looked into this? And they're like, no, I can't afford it. And I'll be like, okay, well, you need to go through the steps, the long-ass, hard-ass steps for local mental health care counseling. And guess what? It fucking helps. They're able to turn their lives around because of the help that they're able to get. It is, there was the, when I went to Washington, D.C. for the Trump inauguration this past January, there was a Trump-supporting woman I sat down, I had an interview with, and I talked to for the video. And you can go back and watch it, and one of the things we kind of commiserated and came together on, because she was, staunchly, like anti-socialism, like communism, and all this stuff is bad. But then I got to talking to her about, in terms that were, outside of socialism, outside of rich paying their fair share, in terms of homeless veterans. And she immediately, like a fire was lit. Because she had people she knew, friends of hers, who served with distinction, who came back with trauma, who came back injured, and went through periods of homelessness. This isn't something that everybody should have to experience firsthand. Yet in America, somehow, we've just accepted that that's probably the way it is. Ma, thank you for being a member for 3 months. If they could get $2 and you get $1, or they get $1 and you get none, they'd pick the latter. Yeah. Yeah. Every fucking time. Is it not such a weird thing that we're a country that has an almost cultish reverence for the military, but we have so many fucking homeless veterans? It is weird. It is weird. And you know what? As many people, because this is one of the things I get fire on, being a leftist. Some people call me a bad leftist because I'm not broadly supportive of the imperial mission of the United States military, but I am supportive of veterans. For a couple reasons. Because veterans unanimously cut across socioeconomic lines. Everybody wants to think of the average U.S. veteran as being from an upper middle class, white, suburban, picket fence neighborhood. Like, everybody has this just idyllic former college football player, like, strapping jawline white jock image in their head. That's not true. That's, in fact, kind of buying into propaganda. The fact is, a lot of impoverished and underserved communities are preyed on by military recruiters and have been for decades. It's why military recruiters go to schools in lower income communities. So they can get all the black and brown people of color, all the kids who don't see any economic social mobility, and sell them the dream that, oh yeah, no, we'll take care of your college, and you can see the world, and you can help defend our freedoms. And then the second that body is no longer useful, they discard the husk. They say, okay, here's the door, fuck you. Every homeless veteran is another brother and sister to the cause of class consciousness. It is another sibling that you should be able to embrace, because at the end of the day, if you want a truly egalitarian society, if you truly believe in the mission of making a better world, then nobody should be excluded from things like mental health care services. I don't ever want to fucking hear somebody in my chat being like, well, fuck those baby killers. Well, they got what they deserved. Because are you the same person you were at 18? I'm not. I'm willing to bet they aren't either. Some of the, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, some of the most ardent, voracious advocates of better social equality and social mobility, people I know, are veterans. Some of the most hardcore leftists are vets. And people who saw combat, too. People who've seen shit. People who have regrets that they live with. But like everybody else, well, not like everybody else, but they try to do good in the world. And that's what we need. I know many trans people who are combat veterans, too. I have friends who are combat veterans. And vets are just another, like, it's one of the things that kind of ticked me off about that, from what I remember, that interaction with that lady, is that when you frame it around veterans who you know, in conservative parlance, while it's not the reality of what they actually display, like they don't actually give a fuck about vets. Trump very clearly doesn't give a fuck about vets. But on the conservative party line, the way they act, at least, veterans are sacrosanct. You know, they are these brave warriors who defended our freedoms, and we need to salute them and give them, you know, free lunch at the old country buffet. And that attitude is upheld by a lot of, like, I would say mainstream, even more moderate Republicans. So when you express these ideas about homelessness to somebody through the lens of veterans, instead of, like Jesse Waters will go on, I was just doing my piece about Jesse Waters, Matt Walsh, like they will go on and they will propagandize homeless people as being, you know, these just wild vagrants. And this has happened in the Irina Zaruska thing. Just these people who are so unstable and they just want to cause chaos and they love living in filth. And these dehumanizing, animalistic terms, which is not an accident, by the way. And it's also not an accident that a lot of those terms are being used to describe a black person, by the way, especially from people like fucking Matt Walsh. Don't ever doubt if Matt Walsh calls somebody an animal or a savage. You don't need to check the color of his skin. You don't. We know Matt Walsh. So it's not that when they're propagandized like that, when things like homelessness are propagandized to people in those terms, used by the far right, people feel an exemption from a social responsibility to their fellow person. That's the point of it. So that people don't feel as bad when they see a homeless person. So that they will fill their heads with ideas of like, well, they should just get a job. Well, they just need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. All the other bullshit you hear. Despite the fact that if you actually look into how hard it is to get a job, to get a house in one of these charities, to like actually try and get your life back on track once it's continued spiraling to that point, usually, by the way, through no fault of your own. You want to talk about like the Sackler family and getting millions of people addicted to opiates? Like how many hard drug addiction start with opiates? Things like oxys. The Sackler family is living large. They aren't paying for that shit. It is the human cost of capital that actually trickles down. And all of that is to say that when you explain these concepts to people, even the hardest, most staunch conservative, because all of these issues, and this is the big katamari that's going to continue rolling, is at a certain point, we are all going to be affected by this shit in one way or another. We're all going to know somebody like this. In one way or another. Sorry, I just heard a weird sound. And you can, when you explain it in these terms, you can get people to agree with you. You can convince people of the necessity for this action. Jay, thank you for $5. A bit I heard once was you go in a soldier and come back a jingoist or an anarchist. Yeah, that's pretty... There is... I think there's truth to that. I think disillusionment leads a lot of people to... I mean, I think disillusionment can go a couple ways, right? Because I think that is also how you get people leaving the movement and going to, like, white extremists and radical nationalist movements. One pro of being a black woman is no one takes my pain seriously, so I only ever been prescribed 800 milligrams ibuprofen. Jesus Christ, Lily Loves. Yeah, and a massive percentage addicted were hurt in combat. Yeah, a lot of them are disabled. There's a lot of inherent ableism in their dehumanizing of the homeless. Again, all of this is by design. The structures of capital align so well. The reason why people are like, well, how did all of this happen? How did like Trump and we've just slipped into? I don't recognize this country anymore. It's because, dog, all this shit, the way everything is already working, aligns so well to a dystopia that fascists and authoritarians dream about, where the rich and powerful at their top and the not so powerful have to die for them to stay rich and powerful. Like, that's what we have now. When people say, oh my gosh, this is so dystopian. Oh my gosh, we used to be a fascist, or like, I never thought that I would be able to see this. This is just like fascism. It's like, dog. No. This is just like capitalism. This is the intended way this shit works. If you want to know why people are so against cultural Marxism, it's because Marx laid a lot, not completely accurately, but laid a lot of the groundwork and correctly surmised a lot of this shit during the industrialization era. And that's what fucking tech oligarchs, people like Elon Musk, want to have us go back to. Walking through streets that are black with awful. Go read some of Engels and Marx's descriptions of what it was like for factory workers in London. Black smoke blotting out the day's sun. Children missing limbs. Guts and blood from tanneries and leather shops lining the streets. All of it cooking in the summer heat. Phoebe RC, thank you for 19 months, Match Girls. I do not know what that is. I never understood the tendency by doctors, etc., to not take the pain of black people seriously. Institutional racism. It's the shit that they want to now roll back any kind of understanding of. Like, just as these ideas are finally spreading and people are finally aware of things like how fucking racist the carceral system is in America, which black people have known the whole time. Like, yeah, black people have known. But in the wake of Black Lives Matter, you had a lot of more moderate white liberals, and you had a lot of documentaries come out and people being like, oh, you need to look at this, you need to read White Guilt and shit like that. And while a lot of it I feel is very hand-wringing, ineffective liberalism, where I think it leads to this idea of a wine mom simply being aware of a problem being enough to satisfy them as feeling active in it, even though they aren't doing anything to really counteract it. They're just aware of it happening. So not much going on that front. But now there are active efforts by the Trump admin to roll the shit back. Like they are removing historical lessons about, there's an infamous picture of a former slave with a horribly scarred back. And we can't teach that because that's DEI, that's CRT, that's critical race theory, that's America. That's the way this shit has always been. If you want a really good, and in fact it was talked about, I've recommended the book before, but if you want a really good, I think it covers the medicalization of blackness topic, Ibram X. Kendi's book, Stamped from the Beginning, which is a incredibly incisive, in-depth historical account of just every racist structure in America and how it came to be. Through the lens of important black Americans and how they contributed and separated from those ideas and movements. It's a brilliantly written book. I would fully recommend it to anybody who's curious about this kind of stuff. Jay, thank you for super chatting $2. London's rivers used to run thick with sewage. Yeah. God, I straight up don't think people can imagine the smell, like truly. Stamped from the beginning. I'll put it up on the screen real quick. Yeah, so go check out this book for more reading. I am going to go and let's raid Surfs TV. They're talking about stuff. I got to go hang out with my deer for a while. Thank you all for joining this kind of impromptu stream. Thank you all for bearing with me as I kind of rambled for about 20 minutes. And stay tuned to the channel. I got more videos coming up soon. And I hope you all have a